Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 23rd. Wait, is that right? It is the 23rd. Oh, January. And things are getting a little wild out there. Well, because of this whole Wuhan coronavirus thing that's going out, they have quarantined the city of Wuhan, which apparently is a large city. I did not realize this, but it is larger than New York. Man, do you know how many cities in China are larger than New York? There is a lot of people out there. Wow. And the market here on the open is already moving up pretty strongly. Anyways, they have quarantined the city of Wuhan, and they have now extended the quarantine even larger than that. So this is quite an unprecedented quarantine. We don't have too many people out there infected. And remember earlier I said that 500 people sick is not necessarily a global crisis that justifies treasuries moving up. I'm still a little bit skeptical about how big of an impact this could have on financial markets, but it is definitely, in terms of diseases, pretty significant and unprecedented, and it has a pretty high death rate. So, they're probably being overly cautious here, but this is not something that you want to let spread. So China has the power to just prevent people from moving around. They're going to take advantage of it, I guess. So let's go over to the chart here. I just want to show you oil took a big dive yesterday and continued a little bit overnight, and we are now finally through that point of control that we identified. Not that we talk about oil too often, but I thought I would show you guys that because that was probably one of the biggest moves that we saw yesterday. ES took a little bit of a dive yesterday and is now ranging, so we are back to where we were on Tuesday. This could be a setup for them to go for the 3305 point of control and maybe even sell off more. This is our first really actionable negative setup that we've seen in the E-mini in quite some time. So we'll see how that works out. Treasuries, meanwhile, now starting to retrace the move from the Iranian crisis. We've already touched this point in control around 129.24.5. I think that we might build some volume up around here, though. We shall see. We bring that down. You can see here on the open, it did give us a signal. I think it's too late for me to take it, but let's just track 17 to 20. Can you get that? I don't know. That's a lot. And I can just see here the inside level 2 quite squiggly so far. So no reason for me to be just, coming in and making any kind of crazy decisions or anything like that. We did have some news here. So we had the ECB. Let's check out. So today we got the ECB press conference starts at the bottom of the hour and unemployment claims. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern time, we have the CB leading index. Not too much. Tomorrow we got flash manufacturing though, so that's cool. There's a bit of liquidity above us. Wonder if we're gonna rise up into that. And what else? Oh yes, I need to turn you guys on now. So probably best for me to just kind of sit here. But let's see. Oh, I said 17 to 20, and look, they made it already. Huh. The question on this one now is, if you got a bar, how late can you take it? But I guess here we're saying we could have taken. Huh. Okay. Okay. I have not seen this thing fail yet. This is getting kind of crazy. Text to speech. There we go. I see there, Uzi. Good morning, everybody. And I tell you, so I was a little bit late. I was a lot bit late today, and I I because I'm on this, what do we call it? I can't even remember this anti-inflammatory steroid, and I feel really great. But they say that you get mood swings. Well, I'm not getting like depression at all or anything like that, but I'm getting back into that mode again where I really want to argue with people on Reddit. And I wasn't arguing with anybody on Reddit, but I was thinking about it, and that's, I think, why it was a little bit late today. Oh, man. What is Donald Trump tweeting here? Mini Mike Bloomberg is playing poker with his foolhardy and unsuspected Democrat rivals. He says that if he loses, he really means when. In the primaries, he will spend money helping whoever the Democrat nominee is. By doing this, he figures they won't hit him as hard during his hopeless presidential primary. They will remain silent. The fact is, when Minnie loses, he will be spending very little of his money on these clowns because he will consider himself to be the biggest clown of them all, and he will be right. He will consider himself to be the biggest clown of them all. What? Okay. That was kind of a weird one, but whatever. U.S. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin says the U.S. cannot sustain deficits at current levels and will have to tackle spending. Mnuchin says the U.S. will have to slow down the rate of growth of government spending over time. This is on CNBC right now. So he's speaking on CNBC. I'm assuming that they're going to cut him off in the next 2 minutes, and then they're going to go over to the ECB press conference, right? Some more stuff. By the way, guys, for those of you that frequent the Discord, if you get spammed by anybody, unsolicited private messages, I have information in the announcements, a link where you can go and get their message link and everything like that, and send it to me immediately, because I report all of these to Discord. It's a lot of work, but I report all of these spammers to Discord. But if you don't provide me like a message link, I cannot prove that the person is actually doing what you claim. And there's people are trying to make false accusations and things like that. But of course, they can't prove it. So we catch them in the act, and it's kind of funny. But, oh yes, it's prednisone. We had to put one of our dogs on a short regimen of prednisone. It's weird. I really can't explain it. I just feel like I should. Except for that, I seem to want to get mad at things more quickly again. It counters the effects of my Adderall in terms of my emotional excitability. The thing that's dumb is the thing that got me going on this one is kind of dumb. Okay. Like it's not that it's like I'm right, but it's an issue. You hungrier or thirstier than usual too? I mean, kind of, but not really. I've been catching myself. I'll eat, be like, ooh, I would really like to eat more, but then I sit down and I see, yeah, you just ate something that had a lot of calories in it, you'd be fine. So yeah, hold on. So here's the thing that got me all triggered was they were on Reddit. There was this really big thread, and I was getting hit pretty hard about it over senators walking out during Adam Schiff's time to present for the prosecution in the impeachment trial. And somebody came in and said, didn't Republican senators do this during Clinton's impeachment too? And it's like, well, yeah, duh. Like, I know that what I'm going to say is going to be like the unpopular thing, but it's because most people haven't seen how congressional meetings work and how things are down there and stuff like that, right? Now, not like I have a ton of experience either. Okay, like I went when it was Obama's shutdown. I was there on the Senate floor watching them make statements at 11 o'clock at night, giving speeches, and I think that it was I think it might have been Schumer that was speaking at the time, and there were more visitors there than there was senators. Let's just say, right? There was the guy there that was running things, and the guy that was speaking, and there was nobody else there. All right. And here's the thing. The Senate is in session like all the time, but the senators don't necessarily have to be there all the time. In fact, really, they don't have to be there unless there's a vote that they really want to do. Right?
Uzi Knesset says literally 99% of our generation only found out what politics are in the last 3 years lol. They don't remember shit, let alone the Clinton impeachment.
Yeah. Especially people on Reddit, right?
Live Action says morning.
Yeah, morning Live Action. Totally. And then you get this thing like, okay, they have like side chambers that they can meet people in, and there's always business being carried out all over the place, right?
On Reddit and Twitter.
Yeah. So it's pretty common for senators step out of whatever is going on in session, either take the monorail back over to their offices and do stuff at their office and come back, or go into the side rooms and meet with other senators and discuss strategy and things like that. Okay. So here we have this impeachment thing. They've literally been allocated 24 hours over a period of 3 days. 24 hours to present their opening argument. Now, they don't have to use all of those 24 hours, but they've been allotted 20. Are you going to sit in your chair for 24 hours and watch all of that? And people say, well, this is, it's like a trial, but they don't ask that of jurors. They have limited sessions, but it sucks. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. And this thing is going to go on, well past that. And there's going to be testimony and stuff. Okay, so as the ECB press conference is starting, we should probably be listening to that, shouldn't we?
Uzi Knesset says surefire way to get the red ass lol.
Right. So it's just, frankly, it's unreasonable to expect them to sit there the whole time. But then 2.5 hours of Adam Schiff.
Live Action says should have given the senators the video same-o.
Well, and I mean, the thing is Adam Schiff's not going to say anything new. We've been listening to him for the past a year, right? And you can tell, it seems to me that they're just, it's grating on them. Like even the senators from his own party appear frustrated with Adam Schiff. And you expect everybody to sit there and be 100% engaged for 2.5 hours. It's just, come on, guys. It's not going to happen. It's not a reasonable expectation. And that's why, hey, they did it during this impeachment and they did it during the Clinton impeachment. And someday, when one of you guys are a senator, you'll probably do the same thing too. And whoever gets impeached in the future gets impeached. Wow, that was a move. Lagarde, some sign.
Still say Schiff's face looks like a puckered butthole person shrugging.
Oh man. Some sign of moderate increase in underlying inflation. Really? Then why are we moving? Oh, well, we did move down. I'm just going to let her speak. I mean, we could. I really do like listening to her. Let's make sure that we get her. Have you noticed that the news media has had a hard time finding a good picture of him? Doesn't matter what outlet it is. You find the picture of Adam
Live
Schiff.
Action says Levine put out a video on Blaze as if he was doing an opening statement on the Senate floor.
But no matter what they do, he looks. Oh, here it is, right here. He just looks terrible.
With changes to the inflation outlook. In any case, the Governing Council stands ready to adjust all of its instruments as appropriate to ensure that inflation moves towards its aim in a sustained manner in line with its commitment to symmetry. Let me now explain our assessment in greater details, starting with the economic analysis. Euro area real GDP increased by 0.3% quarter on quarter.
I don't know what she's going to say is that interesting. She sure is good at this stuff.
0.2% in the second quarter.
Such a great
pattern of
sophisticated accent.
The ongoing weakness of international trade in an environment
we are ready to adjust all instruments as needed,
which has particularly affected the euro area
manufacturing
sector.
You know, as long as it's going on, I'm just hands off. It's always messes me up when trading during the press conferences.
The services and construction sectors remain more resilient, despite some moderation in the latter half of 2019. Incoming economic data and
what do you mean by Levine put a video out on Blaze? Are you talking about the Blaze?
Growth dynamics, with near-term growth expected to be similar to rates observed in previous quarters. Looking ahead, the euro area expansion will continue to be supported by favorable financing conditions, further employment gains in conjunction with rising wages, the mildly expansionary euro area fiscal stance.
Are you talking about Levin? You're talking about this?
Albeit somewhat slower.
This guy.
Growth in
Come
global
on.
activity.
Look at this guy.
The risks surrounding the euro area growth outlook related to geopolitical factors, rising protectionism, and vulnerabilities
Live Action says Blaze
in
TV on
markets
YT.
remain tilted to the
Yeah, I get
downside,
you.
but have become less pronounced as some of the uncertainty surrounding international trade is receding.
Cool.
Euro area annual HICP inflation increased by 1.3% in December 2019 from 1% in
The Treasury
November
Secretary
2019,
Mnuchin is still speaking, says Trump is
reflecting
very
mainly
focused on
higher
Europe
energy
and UK
price
trade this year.
inflation. On the basis of current futures prices for oil, headline inflation is likely to hover around current levels in the coming months. While indicators of inflation expectations remain at low levels, recently
I'm moving back up, huh?
either stabilized or ticked up slightly. Measures of underlying inflation have remained generally muted, although there are further indications of a moderate increase in line with previous expectations. While labor cost pressures have strengthened amid tighter labor markets, the weaker growth momentum is delaying their pass through to inflation. Over the medium term, inflation is expected to increase, supported by our monetary policy measures, the ongoing economic expansion, and solid wage growth. Turning now to the monetary analysis, broad money, M3, growth stood at 5.6% in November 2019, broadly unchanged since August. Sustained rates of broad money growth reflect ongoing bank credit creation for the private sector and low opportunity costs of holding M3 relative to other financial instruments. The narrow monetary aggregate M1
The 24 half
continues
of
to be
fighting.
the main contributor to broad money growth on the components side. The growth of loans to firms and households remained solid, benefiting from the ongoing support provided by our accommodative monetary policy stance, which is reflected in very low bank lending rates. While the annual growth rate of loans to households remained unchanged from October at 3.5% in November, the annual growth rate of loans to non-financial corporations moderated slightly to 3.4% in November from 3.8% in October, likely reflecting some lagged reaction to the past weakening of the economy. These developments are also visible in the results of the Euro Area Bank Lending Survey for the fourth quarter of 2019, which indicate weakening demand for loans to firms, while demand for loans to households for house purchase continued to increase. However, credit standards for both loans to firms and loans to households for house purchase remained broadly unchanged, pointing to still favorable credit supply conditions. Overall, our accommodative monetary policy stance will help to safeguard very favorable bank lending conditions and will continue to support access to financing across all economic sectors, and in particular for small and medium-sized enterprises. To sum up, a cross-check of the outcome of the economic analysis with the signals coming from the monetary analysis confirmed that an ample degree of monetary accommodation is still necessary for the continued robust convergence of inflation to levels that are below but close to 2% over the medium term. In order to reap the full benefits from our monetary policy measures, other policy areas must contribute more decisively to raising the longer-term growth potential,
Thank you.
supporting aggregate demand at the current juncture, and reducing vulnerabilities.
Thank
The
you.
implementation of structural policies in euro area countries needs to be substantially stepped up to boost euro
Hey,
area
Powell,
productivity
are
and
you
growth
listening?
potential,
You listening
reduce
here?
structural unemployment,
This is how you do
and
it.
increase resilience.
This is what I want you to
The
do, Mr. Powell.
2019 country-specific
I want,
recommendations
watch this
should
video
serve
like
as
5
the
times.
relevant signpost.
Meticulous notes on what she does.
Regarding
And then I
fiscal
want,
policies, the euro
how
area fiscal
will
stance
I
is expected to continue to provide
explain
some support to economic activity.
how do I
In
put
view
this?
of the weak
I
economic
want to know
outlook, the
what
Governing Council
messages you
welcomes
want to send
the
to
Eurogroup's
Congress
call in
as to how
December
they can help
for
with
differentiated
better
fiscal
monetary policy in the
responses
United States.
and its readiness to coordinate. Governments with fiscal space should be ready to act in an effective and timely manner. In countries where public debt is high, governments need to pursue prudent policies and meet structural balance targets, which will create the conditions for automatic stabilizers to operate freely. All countries should intensify their efforts to achieve a more growth-friendly composition of public finance. Likewise, the transparent and consistent implementation of the European Union's fiscal and economic governance framework over time and across countries remains essential to bolster the resilience of the euro area economy. Improving the functioning of economic and monetary union remains a priority. The Governing Council welcomes the ongoing work and urges further specific and decisive steps to complete the banking union and the capital market union. We are now ready and available to take your questions. Thank
Ready
you.
and available for questions.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Oh, she
Martin
looks
R.
so
from the Financial
chipper.
Times. I like your owl. I have two
She has an
questions
owl?
for you.
Where what?
Firstly, trade seems to be the order of the day or the order of the week. What do you think about the prospects of a potential trade war between the US and the
No,
EU?
we're
And
going to
does that
start the
seem
press
more or less
conference
likely
with this.
since
Please
the
don't.
start of the year? And secondly, I'd like to hear your reaction to Sweden ending its experiment with negative interest rates, and whether you think that markets, assuming you don't have the potential to cut further, and they're signaling that the next rate rise will be upwards rather than downwards, are they correct in that assumption?
So that's 3 questions in a row.
Oh, she's got a little gold elephant.
Okay, on the trade front, I think you're quite right in signaling that trade is actually an important element in our considerations, and particularly in assessing the downside risk.
Oh,
I
hey,
think one
hey,
critical
Howell,
development since
did you hear that
our
one?
last meeting
Uzi
in
Knesset says
December
Rutan is on
has
point.
been the
Rutan is on
conclusion
point.
of phase 1 of the negotiations between US and China. And that in and of itself has
See,
variety
because
of
when they asked Powell
consequences.
this kind of
It
question,
has
that he was like,
consequences in
"Oh,
relation to uncertainty.
we can't, we
it
don't
certainly
factor
has
in these political considerations."
slightly
And what is she
reduced,
saying? Well, it
if
definitely
not
affects
vanished,
what we're
but
doing.
it also has consequences in terms of international trade at
So
large.
she's not contradicting
and
him.
indirect
She's just
consequences,
telling the market what
for
it wants to
those,
hear. That yes, we're
regions
paying
or
attention to
countries
that.
around the world from which trade will be diverted in order to deliver on that phase 1. So this is something that our teams are looking at very carefully.
And then
to
she goes
assess
into a
exactly what
highly
will be the
detailed
impact,
answer about how
Lucas
these
says Linus
particular.
is retiring.
for the euro area.
Linus,
Gary
In terms
Rich
of,
says morning
the
tarts.
trade relationship
Which
between the
Linus?
US and the EU, I took some comfort from the meeting that was concluded a couple of days ago between the president of the European Union Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, with the president of the United States.
anyways, then she goes into this
And,
way
while
overly
we
complicated,
all
detailed
know
answer that bores
the
everybody.
results of those
Right, which is
meetings
exactly what
are
you want to do,
preliminary,
right? So all of the
tone
nerds that need
and
this
the
information,
determination
they
of
get the
both
information
sides
about their
Uzi
thinking
Knesset
that they
says
actually
also
need.
killed Mr. Peanut disappointed
draw
face.
positive conclusions from
And
that meeting,
all
and
of
to
the media
indicate
people fall
determination
asleep, so
to
you're
pursue
less
the
likely to
relationship,
get
to
bad
pursue the
questions.
negotiations and the approach to the trade relationships between the EU and the
Financial
US,
Times,
think
I like
is
your
to be
owl.
taken as a
Worst
positive
flirting
signal.
ever, says Yogi Chan on
I know
Twitter.
that the President of the Commission will be visiting the United States in February. I would expect continued work to be ongoing between the parties by then, and hopefully some positive developments out of that February visit.
Oh, wait, what?
But clearly, we're going to monitor that very carefully and see what the signals
Linus Tech Tips is thinking of retiring.
for the limitation of signals relative to what the outcome of final negotiations can be. In relation to
That's interesting.
The setting of
I have to
rates,
watch
in
that later.
particular by Sweden.
I think that getting beaten by the main Apple
I'll leave it
channel
to the,
kind of got to him a
Swedish
little.
Central Bank, and to Stephen Ingers to actually indicate on what ground, for what reason.
But I feel him at this point. He's got to be like, well, I've done pretty much everything that you could possibly do on YouTube. Let's move on to the next thing.
That there had been a positive outcome of that period of negative interest rates, and drawing from that, and given the economic circumstances, the inflation expectations, it was.
Gary Rich says
legitimate
Euro
and their
reps coming to
decision,
White House begging Pres
actually
Trump to stop
return
European
to,
tariffs.
The zero rate
Good.
where they are at the moment. Every region and every country
Goldman
has its,
Sachs won't take a company in the U.S. or Europe public
and
unless there's at least one
I
board
think
candidate who's
comparisons
not a
in
white
that
male,
respect are,
says David Solomon
odious,
in a
as we
CNBC
all
interview.
know. Clearly, everybody's going to look
The
at
Zero Hedge has questions. Number one, what about in
conclusions are
China?
drawn from that monetary policy reversal, if you will.
2, thanks Goldman for
but I
creating a
wouldn't
new
draw
market
any
for struggling
conclusions as
iBanks.
far as
What?
Our policies are concerned, and as I said very clearly, I think in the
It's
introductory
okay.
statement.
You know what? Goldman Sachs is totally in on the
Governing
diversity thing,
Council
and
is
it actually
going
it
to be
benefits
very
them.
attentive to any and all developments in all directions, both in terms
I wish
of
that
growth,
they
but
were more
in
interested in
terms of
Gary Rich says the
ideological.
recent rise in
measurement of
flat plaid
price
prices
stability,
hurting the auto
and
sectors,
will take
especially in
whatever
European
measures are
U.
necessary as
I wish that they were more
appropriate,
interested
in
in
order to
ideological
respond,
diversity
to our
rather
imperative
than
to deliver on the mandate
racial
of price
diversity.
stability. That was a bit of a long-winded one, but
That'll
you had
help
3
your
questions
business
in
more.
one, so it had to be long.
Thank you, President Lagarde. Question about the inflation target. Do you agree with your predecessor that the inflation target should be viewed as symmetric? And I'm also curious about your view on the suggestion of creating a band around, a target band around 2%. And then a question
Uzi
on the
Knesset says in the
risks.
Church of
You
Diversity,
said
there
that
is no room for ideological
risks
differences.
remain tilted to
That's
the
sad.
downside, but less so. Was there some discussion about
This the
maybe
thing is
saying
when you
that
at
risks
Goldman, because I
are
worked there,
now
right?
balanced?
And they talk about it all the time, and their main thing is that having that diversity of opinion makes them stronger, and that
on the
one of the reasons
inflation,
why their business has
target,
been so strong is
we
because
have,
they have a wide range of people there that
have
are
a
all
policy
very
by which
smart,
we
and they
operate.
don't
We
move on
have
something
a
until
strategy
everybody
that
comes
was
to a
defined and
consensus,
that has
which is
inspired,
true,
the policy
but
decisions that were
they
made and
are
that have
starting
been made
to
up until
fall
this day,
victim
and
to
that
the
will
same
continue to
problems
inspire
everywhere else, where
policy
the
decisions that are made
ideological
until a
diversity is
strategy
not
has been
there,
adopted,
and
which is
they're
a
not
while
getting as
from
many
now, but I'm sure
conservative
you'll have
people as they
questions
should.
about the strategy.
And so
And in
there's
that
things that they're
respect,
not
I would
seeing.
just adhere to what that strategy was, what its developments
There's
were
also
over the
there
course
was
of
also
time.
I
think the
think
point of
I,
symmetry
although
is
I'm
very
hoping
clearly
here
referred
with
to
the
Gary
new
Rich says
CEO
Goldman
that this
Sachs
is
is gangs
changing.
to investment bankers.
one
Respect.
press conference
Uzi
after the
Knesset
other,
says
so
too
I
much
would refer
ideological
you to
diversity
that.
leads to the inevitable conclusion that racial or gender diversity
You
isn't the
very,
strength they think it
gently,
is.
nudge me into having a view as to
Well,
whether there should be a
the one
band
thing
as to
that
whether
I
there should be
remember
this,
at
that, or the
Goldman
other.
Sachs
I'm going
was
to refrain from that. I know that some
CEOs or leaders setting directions for the company that ended up being dead ends, and that's kind of where the stock got to where it is today, and why David Solomon had to take up the reins. And so I'm hoping that they've changed that a little bit, and that the people lower up in the totem pole are having more of an influence on what's going on. Because, you know, Lloyd led them down this thing of just increase the FIC trading, everything, and emerging markets, and then when this takes off, it'll be great. And he didn't really prepare for the fact that the overall economy is just changing, and that the banks have to diversify their income sources. So that's what David Solomon is doing now. That's good, but they should have been doing that for the
Gary
past
Rich
10
says
years, you
diversity
know?
only the best, nothing less. Stop lowering the bar. It weakens society.
But I would not exclude,
No.
preclude, or anticipate.
You need to have different,
how
listen,
we are going to deliver,
there are
because that's
different
the point of our
personality
strategy
types,
review exercise.
and you need all of those
How we
different
deliver.
personality
Now, you
types to
asked
have
me
a
about
successful
the,
organization. It's absolutely true.
The risk
The problem is that you
tilted
don't
to the
get that
downside and how
diversity
much
through
tilted to the
racial
downside,
diversity.
but less so than
There's
last time
you're
around.
going to see
I
people
think
of that of every
one of the key
stripe. You need people that are
considerations we had on our mind
disagreeable.
was
You need people that
indeed
are
the
extremely
change
open to
in
new
the level of
ideas. You need people that
uncertainties
are
about
going
trade and
to
trade
stick more to
relationships, and the
what they know.
expectations
You're
we
going to
have
need
that those
people that are
uncertainties will
extremely
be,
conscientious
dealt with
and organized.
carefully in
You're
the
going to need
future
people
with
that
the
are a
same
little bit messy
type
and
of
creative.
approach, negotiation,
That's the
rather
only
than
way that you're
adversarial
going to be
positioning.
able to see all of the opportunities
Was there
that the
discussion
human
as to
mind is
whether it
capable
was
of seeing.
closer
And
to
if you
balance than it was,
create an
tilted to the
organization
downside, but
that
less
really
so than it
only
was,
brings
yeah,
in
you always have
super
those discussions, and
conscientious
that's, I
people,
think,
then you're gonna
completely
take yourself
justified,
down
because of
a
the very
dead
mixed
end. A dead end.
picture that we have of the economy. If
Gary
you
Rich says at
focus on
UZI, would you want a
certain
soft
signals,
individual
or
who
if you
needed a
focus
crying
on
closet
certain
have their six in the
indicators,
battle?
or certain
Uzi Knesset
surveys,
says in order to achieve
then
ideal
you
racial or
could
gender
have
diversity,
a
standards must be
less
sacrificed.
downside. If
Which
you
is why
focus
an
on
No.
inevitable becomes
you
more of
could
a
be a
weakness
little
than a
bit
strength.
more downside.
that
So we tried
my-
to arrive
I-
at
so-
exactly what we thought collectively, unanimously actually. was
That
the
would
right
that
level,
makes sense in
which was still
theory,
to the downside,
but
less pronounced
I really don't
than
think
it
that you could
was,
look at
Uzi
anybody that
Knesset
I
says
ever
Gary
worked
Rich, I
with
think you
at
still
Goldman
disagree
Sachs
with you, lol.
and say that standards were sacrificed. There are so many top qualified candidates from all
Uzi
walks of
Knesset
life for
says
them
it
to
makes
pick from.
sense in practice too.
You know, but the thing that would bother me is like, although I don't think they really did this. The thing was is if you did when you work at Goldman Sachs, right? You would be there. There would be a white guy. There would be somebody from China. There would be somebody from India. There would be like people that the circumstances they grew up were completely different.
Then you're fine. Diversity in itself isn't bad, but if you force it, it becomes bad. Diversity must be natural.
See, diversity in most organizations ends up being, well, we need to have somebody of all race, but actually they all grew up in New York amongst wealthy parents or something like that, you know? And that's not diversity. But that didn't happen there. It was diverse, but it was always, I never met a stupid person at Goldman Sachs. They're all very, very bright.
The study and the
All
work
very,
that's
very
been done
bright.
internally at the ECB demonstrates that because of the monetary policy, including very low rates and possibly negative rates, because of that monetary policy,
Ooh, Rudy Giuliani, Tweety
Gary Rich
family.
says at UZ I don't. I see the check the box due to diversity, aka PC, permeate via our military.
Biden family enterprise made millions by selling public office. Will start to reveal the evidence on Twitter. Okay, so we'll see if he actually follows through this time.
Had to be what it is. As you have noted in my introductory statement, I don't differ from my my predecessor.
I mean, here's
on that
the
front.
real problem, right?
I think having amplifiers
diversity
of our monetary policy
as
by having the right
a
fiscal policy,
organizational
be it by way
strategy
of
for a bank
additional spending
works
or reduced taxation
and really
for
makes
those
sense
countries that
because
have
a
space
bank
to do
can
that.
choose
Boozy Knesset
who
says,
they
oh
want.
yeah, I'm certainly glad I was done before PC bullshit infiltrated the military.
You can choose who you want, and you're always going to get the most qualified candidates and things like that. But when you try and apply that across a large population within government, it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. You cannot apply those principles to everybody where you have to take in everybody, and you're trying to sit down and say that we want our country to be X% this race and X% this race, and it doesn't work because these different groups have different interests that will come into significant conflict at some point. And you see that this has been one of the problems on the left all the time, is that as soon as they start to get powerful, they fracture into their individual groups and start fighting with each other, and it goes nowhere. Because the truth of the matter is that their interests are not aligned. In America, America is a country based on ideas, principles within the Constitution, and what race they are, it doesn't matter.
It says qualifications have to be there. I remember a few years ago, a district or whatever ran an experiment with blind resumes to increase diversity, and it backfired horribly because they went based on. Uzi Knesset says qualifications. You have to keep standards. Diversity with standards is absolutely fine.
Right. So America is based on the ideas within the Constitution, and there are some, particularly Arabic people that, in general, do not believe in those principles. And to say that the country should be, X%, those people, you can't do that because those people aren't going to adhere to the American values. And so what the racial makeup of it is irrelevant as long as the people believe in the Constitution.
First of all,
right? And when you start to try and engineer a population, that is dangerous stuff, guys. There's a reason why that's illegal. Even though people do it, find ways to do it and say that's not what they're doing. But do not engineer a population. You can do it when you with who you hire. But doing it at a government level is asking for trouble. It is very immoral. It is very immoral to engineer population. Set some sort of a rule to try and change the racial makeup of a population is so dangerous.
To change anything. That's point number one. Point number 2 on the scope of the strategy.
Uzi Knesset
We
says
are
in
going to
Australia, by the
review,
way. M says Corona in Saudi.
A whole
Uzi Knesset
host
says trying to engineer a
of
population
issues.
is why Sweden is the
So,
only
yes,
Western
it
liberal
will have to
democracy
do
with a systemic
about,
grenade attack problem.
how we deliver, how we measure.
Well,
what
it's, you know, the
tools we
reason
have.
it's unfair to the people that are there. I think that a person
And how we
has
communicate.
Live
reasonable
action says knowing
expectation.
my
And it
doctor
will
as a
really
result of lowered
encompass the
standards
entire
gives me a warm, fuzzy
communication,
feeling.
Approach. When
Yeah,
it comes
I mean,
to
maybe this
decision-making,
is like way too
to,
political for us to be going into,
publication,
but
to the
I
use of
think
language
that
we have,
that
to the,
people should
outreach,
be able
to the
to have a
engagement
reasonable
with all
expectation
stakeholders.
about
All of
when
that
they
is going to
move
be
somewhere
part and
that it's
parcel
going
of
to
the
continue to
strategy. So it's a
be
broad
like what it
Gary
is when
Rich
they
says,
move
And I
there.
uh-oh,
think it
Seth,
touches
talking
on
Pepe the
your
Frog,
first
far-right
point.
language, lol.
My commitment was
guess.
really to
Live
be
action says
able
better
to
my surgeon.
listen to the
You
expectations
start
of
engineering a population
better
against a group of
understand
people so
their
that
economic concerns
I mean,
and their
listen,
imperatives and
here's
how we
here's
will
why
develop
I believe this, okay?
We will continue
Because I'm
to
a Mormon
benefit
guy,
from
right?
the work
And
of
that's
the
what we did,
researchers,
and we
of
got
the
screwed
top-notch
over for it,
economists,
right?
of the,
So you go,
the
Mormons would move
academics,
into an
and,
area.
yes, they've used
They
the
they
hardest and
tended to
various
vote the same
events
way,
that will take
so they
place
would go
in the
into
course
it,
of
move into
2020.
an area,
But it is
and they
also
would
going
change
to
the
be
area so
our
that,
task
you know,
and our
they
goal
moved into
to
Missouri
listen.
and they started voting contrary to
resonates
what
with
all of
those
the
of you
people
who
in
know
Missouri were
how
doing.
the fair
And
is
guess what?
organized. It's
The people that
very
already
serious.
lived there didn't like it.
we will be
And what did
different
they do?
because,
They
you know,
started killing the
90,
Mormons and they
states
chased them
do not
out.
all speak the same
That's the
language,
way
and
that
if we want to
people,
reach
that's
out to
just the
people,
way
we
that
will
people
have to
are,
use,
folks.
People's language.
And you're going in and you're trying to engineer a population
involve all
to
the national
change
central banks, which
the
will
way
be,
that an
also
area
active
votes
participants in
is
the
so dangerous.
But that's what I mean by including, reaching
Live
out,
action says better my
and
surgeon.
addressing the concerns.
Uzi
Now,
Knesset
I
says
take your point
diversity
about
doesn't
the
mean lowered
interest rates,
standards, but
and I
lowering
think that
standards
I
to
have
achieve
addressed that
diversity
point
shouldn't be
earlier
done.
on by indicating
Basically,
that
don't force
we
it.
have to
That's simple.
use all
If
the
your doctor is a
instruments
highly
that are
qualified
available and
Pakistani.
that are proven
Uzi Knesset
to
says
be
then fine.
effective,
But if you're
we will
throwing
measure
medical degrees
effectiveness
at
by
people
law.
because they aren't white, it's
In order
idiotic.
to deliver.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I think that it's a great strategy for your business, but it's not a great strategy to try and apply it to like a government
Helen
institution.
Bloomberg. President Lagarde, you've said before that the review will last until the end of the year, and assuming that that's still the valid assumption, how do you plan
How did
to
we get on that
mitigate
again?
risk in the interim about?
So they're saying they
uncertainty
now
over
have
the
some
ECB's
cases
policy, since
in
the policy
Saudi
implications
Arabia.
of the review are not yet clear. So, for instance, is the view that
Corona
the
in
ECB can't
Saudi
or won't
Arabia, says M.
raise or cut interest rates as long as
Do
the review is
you have a
being
source for that
discussed
one? Not that I
just
don't
now.
believe you, but I would just like to read
And
more.
my second question is about tiering, especially since the next reserve maintenance period is in 6 days. I'd like to know what the ECB has learned from its experiment with tiering so far since September, whether you're satisfied with the impact on bank profitability and lending and money market
Uzi
rates. and
Knesset says it's here
whether
too,
what
isn't
you
it?
consider the
In
cost
DC, I
benefit
thought I
is
Well,
to
there was a
expanding the
case
pool of
in
exempted deposits
Portland, I
or
think.
raising the rate on them. Thank you.
I mean, the problem with this is, as I
have a
mentioned
M
in my
says
intro.
yes. Benzinga squack.
Simple-minded
Okay,
approach
Benzinga
to
Squawk says it.
your first question.
There's it's
M
airborne.
says no link.
Yeah, I got you.
It will be over.
It's
when it is
airborne.
over.
So
in other words, we will have a
so
new strategy when we
in
have
Wuhan,
concluded the
500
exercise.
people got
Our
infected.
expectation
If it's
at
airborne,
this
you really
point is
think that
that
it's going to
it
be
will
limited to
take
500 people,
a year,
right?
and our
They
hope is
they
that
if they
we
take
can,
every so people are saying they're being
agree on
overly
that,
cautious.
uh,
It's not that they're
new
being overly
strategy
cautious.
of the
It's
European
you do
Central Bank
absolutely everything
around
that you
November,
can
December.
to prevent the
December,
spread
in
at
my
this
view,
point.
would be the,
Maybe you can prevent it.
probable
Maybe you can limit
date
it down
for
to
the
you know,
conclusion and the communication of our
a
strategy.
few thousand people
when I say
and a
it
few
will
dozen
be
more
over when it
deaths,
is over, what
right?
it means
And all of
is
that
that
would
in the
prevent
meantime,
deaths. So is that really an
irrespective
overreaction?
of our deliberations
And if you
or
don't do any, and if you don't do
consideration,
that,
our engagement
then it could
with
potentially spread to
academics,
millions
with,
of people or billions of
economists,
people.
with civil society,
So
with
it's not an
European Parliament,
overreaction,
and so
even
on and
though
so forth.
the end result and the
Irrespective of
impact
all
on
that,
markets
which
may,
will progress
in the end, end
parallel
up being
and
very
will
small because they took
keep
it
a
so
lot of
seriously.
people busy, both here in
Well, they
Frankfurt and
came
in
back
the 19
pretty hard
national
there,
central
that
banks.
turn.
We will conduct the same usual exercise of monitoring, analyzing,
M says
drawing
painful for
conclusion
China, canceling
about
New
the
Year's events.
macroeconomic situation,
Uzi Knesset says, I
about
think the scariest
the
part about the
monetary
virus is that it
situation,
actually led a
about
communist
the
powerhouse to
markets,
threaten
because we
provinces
look
if
at
they
that
keep
as
secrets
well.
about it.
And then we
When
will draw
communists
our
want to be open
conclusions,
about
which
something
will
like
be
that.
independent from the strategy review that we're conducting separately. Oh, you had the second question. Yes, the tiering. I don't think I'm disclosing any secret because at the time some of you commented about it. There were some governing council members that were a little bit skeptical about the effectiveness, the benefit, the justification of the tiering. I think the overall view, I think it was unanimous actually, I didn't hear anything to the contrary, but the unanimous view is that the tiering system is operating extremely well. There is no discussion at this point in time to change the limit of 6 times, as you know. But, you know, since September, or since it was decided, and as of the effective date, as you know, there was instant movement. It has proven to be effective, no question about it.
M says painful for China, canceling New Year's events. Uzi Knesset says, I think the scariest part about the virus is that it actually led a communist powerhouse to threaten provinces if they keep secrets about it. When communists want to be open about something like that. Uzi Knesset
It's
says
bad.
it's bad lol. Gary Rich says, ban the Chinese, they steal our IP and bring virus to USA ROFL. I do love my fried rice and chow mein.
What does that mean concretely?
I'm really concerned about what the political fallout of this is if they have to close the border because of Wuhan coronavirus.
If we bridge that to inflation, there's a big gap between
That
how
would-
people
that would
think
be-
inflation is
Vincenzo
actually
C says, I want the
developing
country
and
in a
how
hermetically
inflation is
sealed bubble
measured
a
in
la
terms
Logan's
people
Run.
feel that inflation is a lot
Because
higher.
we've been
But you also
in
include
recent history in
real
this
estate
area
price
where
development in
the
new
open people have had the
inflation
advantage, right?
measurement,
There's real
perhaps. Thank
advantages
you
to
very
being
much.
open, and we live in a very open society.
Thank you very much
But
for,
there's reasons
the
why those
questions.
personalities
On the,
that aren't open
on
exist.
climate change, what
Uzi Knesset
I
says, of
said,
course,
I
it had
said,
to
will
happen in the
continue to
world's
say is
largest
that it is
exporter law.
everybody's
You
responsibility,
when you
wherever
have
he or she is,
isolated
to see
populations,
what
they
he or she
tend
can
to
actually do
breed
to
viruses,
fight
and then
climate change
they
and
aren't
protect
going to be immune to
biodiversity.
each other's
I can-
viruses, and
I
so
insist
it
on the two
was,
components.
you know, it was good to
So
be
let me tell
wary
you
of
what we
foreigners
already
because they
do,
would make you
because
sick.
It's not as if, you know, it's a newborn baby. because
And
I
that
already,
hasn't been a thing in recent
quite
history,
lot
but
had already
but
been
if it
undertaken.
turns
I would
into
refer
a
you to
thing,
an excellent
that
speech
gives
Dr. Wackel had
the
given about
people that are
6 or 8 months
you
ago,
know
about
opposed
these
to
topics. So I'll
open
just- I
borders
just want to
and
summarize
things of
what
that
we do,
nature
because
are
there's always
really
questions
really big.
and sort of,
What is the
testing
word?
of
A really big
views
argument in their
versus the
favor.
rest. Things are
And
actually happening. First of
I
all,
don't think that
we
the
have,
people
as you
on the
know,
other
an
side of that
ECB
argument
staff
will
pension
react
fund.
kindly to it.
And I'm looking at my paper because I don't want to give you anything that is wrong.
You're going to have
So we
liberal
replaced the
people,
previous
you know,
benchmarks for the equity funds by their
intentionally
low carbon
braving
equivalents, and that
the
came on
illness
the top of the
to prove
selective
that
exclusion
we should be,
and proxy voting guidelines
you know,
that
you
have
know
already
where
been in
you know
place
where it's
for
going
much
to go.
longer than me. But that's an add-on to what we have in place.
It's going to be
It does
messy
not
politically.
apply to a very, very sizable amount. It's roughly 1 billion euros, but, you know, small rivers make very large oceans eventually.
that move down in the
The
treasuries did
second,
not
deals with
overextend the way that it
the ECB's
appears
own
from
funds
the tape.
portfolio.
Gary
And that
Rich says,
applies
just as the
to,
American Indian,
the,
hey look pale-skinned
ECB
person,
paid-up
cough
capital
cough, many
and the
dead,
general
lol.
reserve.
Exactly.
Altogether, that's a little
Exactly.
over 20 billion euros.
This is a consideration that in
we're
modern society we
investigating
haven't
how
had
climate
to
change
consider,
related
and if we start
considerations
if
can be
if
better
it has to
integrated
become
than
a
they are at the
significant
moment.
consideration
As a first
again,
step,
it's
we have
going to mess
decided
up a lot of
to
M
increase
says
political
at airports,
ideology.
if temp is over
Investment held in the
100, then you get
portfolio,
examined. World
subject
tourism
to
travel could
availability and
slow. Macau
liquidity
could
of
take a
such
hit.
funds, of course.
Win and LVS
Now,
dropping.
The third step has to do
Yeah,
with,
so the question
our
is
monetary
at this
policy
point is
portfolio,
what
which
is
is
the
much
effect on
larger.
global GDP of
As you
this?
know, there
Like
is only a
let's just say
portion of
that
which
we
is
say that
corporate,
everything goes best case scenario
corporate asset
now.
purchases.
What
It's
is the
roughly,
effect on global GDP?
take it or leave it, 200 billions relative to over
Because
2
there's, I
trillions
mean,
for
you
the
can't
entire
close down an entire city
purchase
the
program.
size of New
I
York
think
City
that
in China, and
strategy is
it's
going
not
to
going
have
to
to
affect
review.
commerce,
Uzi
right?
Knesset says,
What it can-
interestingly
what-
enough,
what-
open
what the
borders
bank
people love
can
talking
do,
about
should
stolen
do,
land and natives, but
how
fail to
much
acknowledge
it
that open borders
collides
effectively
with
destroyed the natives'
mandate.
law.
Yeah.
And if so, I think we should very
It did.
expressly say so. But if it doesn't, I'm giving you a for instance. It's not something that
I mean,
opined
here's
that
the
has been
problem with that
considered at
argument,
all, but,
Uzi. I mean,
you know,
the
you
reason
can-
why
you can
it's
look
not,
at,
in my opinion, an
what,
effective
ESG,
argument
for instance,
is,
criteria are
do
respected
you
by the
really
issues.
think
You can assess
that
the value of collaterals
you're
in order
going to
determine
be
what is the risk associated
kicked
with
out
collaterals
and
and so
killed
on.
in
So
America?
those are just, you know,
I mean, maybe it's
in
possible,
addition to
I
that,
suppose,
there's work
but
also that
you're
is
not going to get
ongoing,
very many people
in
that
various
are going to
departments at the
view
ECB
that
to
as
make
a
sure that
serious
the
concern.
climate risk is actually
And so it
embedded
ends up
in
being an
the work that
ineffective
they do
argument.
in terms of risk assessment, in terms of
Nobody
models, in
thinks
terms
that
of,
what
their
that
forecast,
what happened
and
to the
and
Native
you know, this
Americans is
work
going to
in
happen
progress.
to
It's not
anybody in the
something that is
United States
completed
today.
and that is finished. I will myself finish with the area of financial stability, because there is also work going on in order to define better
Canyon
stress
Capital
testing.
says, why didn't y'all tell
And
me
that,
flatteners were easier to hold than
framework
steepeners?
normally should be completed at the end of 2020 at the latest. This is work that is internal.
So
to
he
the-
must
to the
be
ECB,
short them
and that is
just
separate from what the SSM is
Live
doing
Action
as well.
says there's a
calmly
job
holding
with
it.
high turnaround
We
temperature
also have,
taker at
together with
airports
the
for
European
coronavirus.
Systemic Risk
is it
Board,
really?
we have a pilot
Is
framework
it pay well?
that is under review as well, and which should be completed as well in the fall of 2020. So there is a lot
I mean,
going on.
if it pays well and you've
as
already
you will
gotten
see in the,
coronavirus, then
press
I say
release
that that's a
you will
great
see
job to
later
pick up,
on,
right?
It says
in a
oof.
very short while, actually. You will see that environment.
If you've already gotten it and you're
sustainability is
immune?
captured very well in the description of our strategy review. It's right in there.
Well, all I have to say is
Ace
it's a,
Trades says morning.
hey, Ace,
You
how's
asked
it
me
going?
another one?
Oh, yes.
The ECB press conference is going on, and
As
I wouldn't
said,
touch these
we
markets.
will not
That's
leave
our
any
current.
stone unturned.
So we're talking about
And how we measure inflation
a bunch
is
of
clearly
things that we
something
probably
that
should
we
be
need
talking
to look at. Are we going to resolve the issues?
Oh, and I saw that you weren't able to come to the baby shower, which
clearly
is
the issue
okay.
of
But
housing
you're gonna have to make it up to me at some point.
owner
You pick any day that's a
versus
Tuesday, a Friday, or a
non-owner
Saturday, and you're
the
available.
reality
Just text
and
me.
the
I'll be
perception,
there,
The
dude.
difference between large
'Cause
urban
I would
centers
love to meet up.
and rural areas. All of
And
that
no,
is
just
infinitely
have
difficult
fun.
to apprehend and to calculate, but we need to look at it and we need to understand.
You know,
that. I
wholesome
believe that
fun, of course.
There is
Wholesome
a
fun.
clear miscalculation
But I digress.
between what is there, which is roughly 6% of budget, if I recall, and what is the perception.
Fresh loaves
We
and
need to
crude.
understand why, and if there is a real difference, which there might well be, then we
Vincenzo
need to
C says,
pass
I
that
hear
on
that the
to
native Indian
Eurostat
population is
and
the largest
have
it's ever been.
Eurostat do
Haven't
further and
researched that,
additional
though.
work. I'm
Oh,
not
really?
suggesting
Gary
that
Rich
it's going
says
to be resolved
TSA
in
job
1 year.
openings.
I-
Just
you know,
need to
when I was
molest or
finance
sex
minister
harass young and
in
old.
France, we had our issues with
One of the
real
things that
estate,
I
and
find really
it took
weird
a
is
lot of
that
time.
you know they really intentionally tried to
Ace
destroy
Trade says
native
sounds
culture.
good.
And even in relatively recent history, and I just can't, you know, what arguments were they using to justify those policies at the time? I just can't even imagine how they would be explaining that. It's not like the Native Americans were like a threat to the larger United States. That would, you know. Because they're doing that in China. They're doing that because they think that I don't know how to pronounce it. They think that the Uyghur Muslims are a significant threat to the country's safety and economic opportunity in the future, and that's why they're basically genociding
Vincenzo C
them.
says, Seth, have you ever considered that being too clever with trading could be a detriment?
Too clever with trading? Well, I don't. Okay, so this is I have to pick my words here carefully here, because this is a sort of a thing where we don't want to give
Am I
people
concerned?
bad ideas, right?
I'm
Or bad
concerned
advice.
about low rate.
I think
Because
that
low rate
let
is
me turn
predicated.
her off so I can think for a second. I think that markets tend to reward in on the nuance. They tend to reward nuance, right? It's like the Apple thing. This is something that Brett Brannigan says, or Brannigan Barrett or whatever his name is over at Futex, where he says, the apple is red, but is it really red? There's all of these different shades. And the market tends to reward that nuance, the answers that aren't like the most obvious ones, because the most obvious ones have already had all of their alpha taken out of the market. Okay. I don't think, though, that that's necessarily being too clever. When it comes down to trading, the important thing is that you come up with a plan that you can faithfully execute on every day.
Live Action says Indian population increased just recently. Ask Elizabeth Warren.
That's the important thing. And if you are executing on your plan, then you're probably not going to fall into this trap of being quote unquote too clever, right? It's just like, if I think that X thing, like what could it be? That I think that this Wuhan virus is gonna blow over. Okay, sure. But I'm not gonna take that trade when, like right now in the E-mini, we just dropped like 3 points. Should I take place that trade right now at 33.11? That doesn't make sense. That wouldn't be within my plan. So that's kind of what I think about it. I don't know if that's where you were going with it, but
the main takeaway
that's kind of the thought that it sparks in me when you ask that.
A threat to financial stability. I wonder if you agree with that premise. I
Wuhan will build a designated hospital for centralized treatment of
Live Action says 6E spiking low.
And then secondly, related question is, will the ECB wait for the strategic review before it incorporates any sustainability or climate change criteria into its?
They sure have moved across this 8-tick range
wait to adjust
quite nicely several times.
Purchase program until the strategy review has reached some kind of conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's difficult to disagree with that finding of the BIS.
I wonder if they're so this time they are trading much larger icebergs at 26. I wonder if they're going to make it through this time.
And a risk that is hardly measured and taken into account by many actors. I believe that the action taken by suggested by the BIS, the action recommended by other central banks, I can think of Mark Carney from the Bank of England, for instance, are completely justified. And I was personally very pleased to see that the private sector is actually also taking action in that respect, and certainly would welcome the involvement of other operators, including the accounting firms and those that are setting the international accounting standards, as well as the large asset managers, as we've seen. I think we badly lack harmonized measurement systems that can be generally accepted and that are actually implemented. So that's it is more of a personal view, if I may say, because it has not been debated in the governing council. And
end up being 14, and now they're absorbing 5K at 26.
Sort of give you the ECB doxa on this matter. I would be surprised if they were very much against that position. What I tried to do when describing for you what we were already doing,
Forex Live just tweeting that US JPY is broken below the ceiling.
While we might not be ahead of the curve yet, we are not sitting on our bottom doing nothing. So we are taking
Sebastian Marquez says high volume in 3,310.
The way in which we operate at the moment, and wherever we have the option to include climate change
down in here in the E-mini,
we are doing so. It is going to be an important matter that will be debated during the strategy review.
I think there's a really high probability that on the open that the E-mini is going to make a run for 33.05.
All those questions will have to be debated.
It might be a little volatile and hard to catch, but I think it's pretty good.
Mr. President, the last strategic review addressed an era where inflation was hard to tame, not hard to stimulate. And since then, technology, globalization, even European integration have added efficiency but have undermined the inflationary pressures. How can this strategic review address with this fundamental shift, and what yardsticks do you think personally should be assessed first for their relevance in today's era? And a follow-up question, we can safely assume by now that
they're going to trade a bunch more. 20. I mean, it went offer, and they're going to trade a bunch more into it
for fiscal spending for growth. Is there something more efficient, different that the ECB could do or influence in order to catalyze fiscal expansion?
The economy is in pretty good shape, says Delotte. Joe, I can't even say that. I don't think the optimism is unwarranted. I think that what's unwarranted is the certainty.
Says I'm being too clever. I was just taking a look at the sharp ration and found it, though interesting, ultimately a pointless intellectual exercise.
You're completely right.
Have you looked at the sharp ration in your career?
Has completely changed.
Are you talking about the Sharpe ratio?
And
So the Sharpe ratio is absolutely a great way to look at how you trade.
Euro,
if you come into, I don't think that they do it on this one. Let me see here.
And monetary policy.
Pretty sure that you don't get it on your jigsaw statistics.
The goal was to fight inflation because inflation was
Vincenzo C says maybe not of much value if not pointless. Gary Rich says is it me or is Lagarde kinda hot in that president of a Centennial Bank way?
So it's
hugging
been a
face.
reversal of the situation.
I really like her.
And requires, in my view,
so in Ninja, if you go into the Ninja Trader trade analyzer, it gives you a Sharpe ratio.
In view of the change of circumstances,
and it is a useful
factors that are here with us
because it's a measure of how consistent your strategy
Vincenzo C
is.
says ratio.
Yeah, a Sharpe ratio is a measure of how consistent your strategy is and how much alpha you're generating compared to the market.
312.50 after it comes back down.
This close to the open?
Vincenzo C says I don't know why I wrote ration.
Back in 2003, which doesn't mean to say that we have to necessarily change this, that, or the other, but we have to look comprehensively at the effectiveness of our monetary policy. One thing that I know is,
I mean, 8 minutes before the open kind of makes me a little
in our
nervous.
Considerations will be the mandate that we are given under the treaty.
So I tell you, if you, Vincenzo, if you worked at like a prop firm, like if you worked at Goldman Sachs, Sharpe ratio would be one of the performance metrics that they would be looking at to see how good of a trader you
I would
are.
first of all observe that at the euro area level, there is a very mild fiscal expansion as we speak.
Now, the issue is if you're a beginner,
And I would also observe
it's
that,
probably not
two
going to
of the
be a very
countries
useful
that
metric
have
to you
fiscal
because what's going to
space,
matter more is what's
when
your
I
average
think
loss,
you
what's
know
your average
what I'm
winner,
talking
what
about.
is your percent profitable,
two of
how
those
big is your
countries
drawdown. Those are the
now
most important things.
Vincenzo C says
one
I
has
must be
certainly
hungry.
gone pretty way out in order to explore how to expand more fiscally with their
Well,
respective
I
domestic
have to
budgets.
say, something that you want to be
there's
careful
progress.
about is getting
Just
stuck
need
in
to
the
keep at
click
it, not
holes, you
because I
know?
want to influence
Sometimes
fiscal
you'll get
policy,
into
it's
this
for
period of,
the budget
M says
holders to
Indian nurse
decide.
in
It's
Saudi
for the
Corona.
okay.
authorities
That,
that have competence in
you know,
that
you're
respect
looking
to
for
decide.
new
That's
ideas
simply
and
because
you
a
you
good
want
fiscal
to
support
find this
would
piece of
give
information
much
that's going to make your
more
trading
effect
better.
to our monetary policy.
And so you
why
go
I think
down the
it's
click hole and
important
you're searching for all this information on the internet about that hopefully you can find this thing, and it doesn't exist. Like, not that there's not useful information out there, but your brain is looking for a hit of some chemical that it's never going to be satisfied from going down that hole. And so you can end up researching about a ton of stuff that really doesn't matter, you know?
Do you not fear that it will be difficult to deliver on that? And my second question is on policy making. Broad consensus in the governing council has some obvious advantages, but it might also have some disadvantages like groupthink or the ECB might be vulnerable for mistakes. For example, the Bank of England tried to have people in their monetary policy committee who challenged the existing views in the within the group. So how important is it for you to reach unanimity?
It's kind of sitting there really close at
consensus
33-13, but at the moment, they don't look like they're ready to
decisions?
make any kind of move before the open.
Thank you very much. On climate change,
Vincenzo
I
C
know
says,
that we
okay,
will have a
thanks.
debate, and I know that there will
Yeah.
be discussions.
So,
and it's already out there,
the things that are going to matter, though,
Is there
are
going to be,
the
mandate
process,
creep?
right? Have a
Is that going
process
to be a
for how
distraction?
you determine whether or not
Why
something
should it
works.
be the role of central
Here's my
banks?
process, and
If
I
they
and
do
I got
so,
this from
then
Jigsaw.
yet again,
But you
the
take something,
legitimate authorities to
you look at it for a week or
implement
two.
climate
Don't even
change,
necessarily trade it, but look
policies
at it for a week
will
or two.
feel that
Take a
job
very
is done,
careful
they don't have
stats
to
about
worry.
it, and then based on the
I'm
stats that
aware
you
of
have,
that,
you can
but
try
I'm
and come up
also
with a
aware
profitable
of
trade.
the danger
Trade
of
that
doing
for
nothing.
a number of trades until
And
you
I
have
think
enough
that,
stance to prove that it
failing
works,
to
and then if
try
it does,
is already failing.
on that time period, then
So
you
we
can
should
try
at
taking it
least
live. And you should
try
understand enough about
to
why it
explore
works to
every
understand,
area
what
where
market it works in and what market it
we
doesn't
can
work in
actually
and all that stuff.
participate
Sorry,
in a
big frame
determination
drop there
that
for some
is
reason.
now
You mean he moved higher
the
again?
determination of the European Commission, of many of the Euro
So I guess the
area
33,
leaders,
12, 50 is
and
gone
which is
now.
also creeping into the private sector. So that's my personal take on that. And I was
Right,
very
and
pleased to
and
see
finding
that
edges
the
and testing them,
environmental sustainability
that's
has
what's going to
found
get you
its
there.
right space in the
Gary
in the
Rich says, hey,
monetary
who predicted
policy
oil was gonna
review
come
that
back
we
to
are
fair value of
embarking upon.
55? Yeah, baby.
On the
Did you say 55?
I
So
draw
you
a
say
line
the trade is
between
over now then?
consensus building.
Well, I have to say
and,
the move down was
repressing alternative
pretty
views, and I can
impressive.
assure you that we are not.
Do you
short of
swing it like that, or
alternative
I mean, you didn't
There are
hold it down
multiple
through that
views
whole
around
move,
the
right? You
table
would just
on
kind of
multiple
Gary
take
Rich
scalps
says
down.
monetary policies. And, I'm not a despotic president of the governing council. All views are welcome. All governors have their space.
Sure
and
would love
time, in
swing
order to
trading oil,
share
but
their perspective and submit.
I don't have
their views.
the balls
But
for
at
that.
the end of the day, and at the end of the process, we still have to complete the introductory statement and release a monetary policy decision if and when it is expected and required. So I don't think it is repressing views. I don't think that it is sparing alternative views. I think it's intended to arrive at the best possible common understanding and a final decision. If we have unanimous decision, it's satisfactory. It means that we are converging all together towards
Ace
a
Trade
decision.
says 2
But
minutes.
it may well be that we do not have unanimous decisions, and that at some stage it will
Did
have to be a
you
majority
hit into
decision.
that one?
But we need a decision.
No, I assume not.
Gary Rich says, I sold option calls and scalped it all the way down. Got caught a few bad times, but kept doing it.
United Kingdom will be formally
Okay.
out of the European Union, and it starts a complex time.
You sold
to-
option calls? Oh,
So, do you think the European financial system is ready for that? Are you?
wait, did you cover you covered them?
You know, it's one of the questions that I've asked the teams.
What if it had moved
What
up?
happens when
What if there
Brexit
had been
happens?
another
Are we
attack,
already- have we
another
taken
Saudi
all the steps
attack?
that we had to take?
Ooh,
Have we alerted
that sounds
sufficiently,
so
the private
dangerous,
sector
Gary.
Operators to themselves take the right measures, and my assessment today. is
Please
that
tell me
yes,
that
we
you
have.
had that hedged somehow.
Live Action
just
says
to
Demetrius mentions it takes balls
Remind
to
you,
push
back in
trading
March
size
of
limits.
2019, we activated swap lines with the Bank of England to make sure that on both sides of the channel there would be enough euros and sterlings so that operations could continue in a smooth manner despite the implementation of Brexit.
Yogi Chan
We
says I
have
miss
alerted
Draghi.
and
Well, I mean, I
reminded
like
the banks
Draghi,
Uzi
but I really
Knesset
like
says, I do
this.
side work as a mechanic on a
the
large truck that
necessary,
carries Gary's balls, grinning
measures
squid in
that we
face.
have to take in
Gary
order to
Rich
be
says,
in a
I'm
good
able to gauge the
position to continue
geopolitical
to
in that
operate
area of the world.
irrespective of
I
Brexit.
man,
We
I'd
have
still.
really, good reason
I
to
mean,
believe
come
that
on.
This is so.
Your
And don't
worst
forget that,
case scenario
there
loss
was
in
this
that
high-level,
trade
working
is
group between the Bank of England
is
and the ECB
insane.
at the level of both president and governor, in order to make sure that they had...
Regardless of how likely it is to happen, just set that aside for a moment. You realize that if it does go bad, that it could go really, really bad with selling calls, right? If that was unhedged.
That we thought was necessary.
Okay. So the E-mini appears to be a pretty decent buy impulse.
Gary Rich says yes, selling calls was scary, but have to have balls.
Also, one more question for the climate change. In Davos at the World
Okay.
Economic Forum, President Commission Ursula.
As long as you understand what you're doing, I'm not gonna criticize it, but that's
and the bank for
not a trade that I could take.
It is the same view, but we are against a green QE program. What is your view on this issue?
Okay. So now they're at 33.1250, but there's some stops there and volume.
Vincenzo C says I heard there's old traders and there's bold traders, but there's no old bold traders.
We are taking steps, and we have taken steps already in order to play.
So there's 33.1250, but it's too messy right here to take it.
We will look as part of the strategy review at what options we have to be even more intrusive, more active in relation to the corporate purchase plan that we have in place and which continues to operate, as you know, because we are purchasers on a monthly basis of 20 billion euros, and we reinvest as instruments come to maturity. We will look at that and
it's kind of slow on the down move, though.
See how we can play our role in accordance with our mandate, indeed. On that word, I think, in accordance with our mandate, indeed, we have to stop the exercise.
Yes, you need to move so that they can trade the E-mini bud.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Okay, so. Unfortunately, the price that Ace called out earlier, too much in the mess to be trading for me. But we are definitely expanding the range here. Short would have been great. I feel so FOMO. I just want to click it right here. Treasury's just careening up there. In fact, no, I can't take it anymore. Are they gonna come back? Yeah, this market's falling apart for sure. Whoa! Okay, this was a trade that I wanted to track. Oh, they're not even gonna give any back. Come on. It's from here.
Block buy.
Nope. Okay.
Gary Rich says it's on. Been waiting for this. Air Cages says hello.
Nope, I don't think
Live
so.
Action says I am such an idiot leaving just one runner.
Okay. Well, they might have overextended there. See, look, now they're pushing above where it was. So I was looking for a continuation trade there, but if they're able to push past where the impulse came from, then that's your stop. So that kills the trade right there. And the impulse from what I recall
Air
was around
Cages says,
33.07.
hey Seth, what's happening?
I think that the markets are upset about
Harlequin
the
says,
coronavirus.
Seth, you really need to watch some big levels. They just broke weekly low and then you jump in afterwards.
Did they? Oh, was it weekly low? So I'm just looking, the levels that I'm looking at. I mean, I have levels, guys.
Harlequin
But
says
they're not.
weekly low was 3,307.25.
But I'm not going to put every stinking level on the chart, right? I think they can totally continue here. But I only cared about where the stop run was from, so I wanted to see them retrace the stop run and slow down, and they didn't do that. And
Gary Rich says we dropping for a while.
Yeah, you think so? I'm kind of wondering if Aces give us another price here. I think that you need it to consolidate a little bit before. See, that's really hard for me to try and take a 10, an 8 tick scalp out of when it's moving like that. And in the treasury,
Eric
can't
Cages
really
says
trade
the
it
market
either.
is going crazy. This virus must really be contagious.
Well, it's not that. I mean, it's not any more contagious than your common cold. From this, when we were comparing it to other viruses, and I'm sure that
Gary
somebody
Rich
else
says
will
I'm
come out
looking for
later.
200 drop on the YM.
I'm sure that some expert will come out later and give us a much better way to kind of compare it. But when I was looking at it, it looked like this was comparable to smallpox. Except for that, smallpox can have serious long-term effects on you. Oh, by the way, the target was 3305, right? So that theory of mine did play out. Now below that we got 3290. I'm wondering, why don't I have my weekly? Do I not have it on this chart or something? No, I have it on here. I think, because it's up here. We're negative on the week. Okay. This is at 3325. Was like the open, which is what I'm most interested in. Vietnam says 2 Chinese citizens in Vietnam confirmed to have coronavirus. Oh, jeez. ES is still selling. Okay. They're getting a more meaningful pullback now.
Eric Cages says we should all pitch in and get Seth trading a live account again.
I've taken some live trades. The one that I took there was an experiment. If that trade at 33.1250 had been earlier and had really actually triggered before the E-mini opened, I totally would have taken that one live. Now I'm looking at it like wanting to click it so badly, but knowing that, if I only want to risk 4 ticks or whatever, what's the probability that I'm going to find that in this area? I can't see that. Okay. I could possibly buy this in the 10-year 1200 at 29.5. Really?
Air Cages says I see. It thought you were going sim. Would like to see you trade ZN again.
I would too, but we need to practice through this strategy a lot more before we trade the ZN live anyways. So does it confirm on a 15-minute too? It does. Except for that one is lower. So if we build again at 24, so 13K at 29.5. I'm unsure if this one qualifies, but we're learning it out still. So I feel good about it. So let's just try that one. It looks to me like that all of the traders that sold there are being forced to take profits at the moment. Now this 29 in ZN is not. You're in an area that doesn't give you a whole lot of clues as to what might happen at individual prices from the past. We kind of have to rely on our indications of momentum and volume in terms of how far they can go. Okay, so there was a bit of pressure there at 28.5. And it drops. ZB trading the 22 as well now, so I don't think that is what we should see. Because again, we want them to be hitting into 24.
Ace Trade says another short at 3,305.00. Live Action says we were talking about this yesterday when yesterday HL breaks out of balance plus nice move potential. Bots says morning all waving hand.
Good morning, John. See, I'm looking for like a I don't think I can take the short here in the E-mini anymore. I would need to see it below 3301.25 for me to have a whole lot of confidence in the short side in the E-mini at the moment. That looks to me like that price was rejected for the moment. It's a really clear hammer signal down there. So they're going to have to punch right through it. Now if it punches through it, well, I won't take it live, but let's just put this down in here. If they punch through it, I wanna hit right
M
into
says
it.
Vietnam confirms first case.
Yes, I saw that.
Air Cages says Ace, what do you do to get your entry signals? Bot says you're late, you missed the 2 goes 3 reversal at 3,312.50.
The 2 goes 3. That was the price that the Ace was calling out. But I don't see on the chart what the wire 3312.50 is the thing. So what makes that particular price?
Bot says it's in your Discord PM.
Oh, okay. Oh, sure. You're saying the up close bars, but why does 3312.50 end up being a trigger point? Okay, well look at that. Oh.
Live Action says I was able to get more on off the bounce than Fractal Balance short break. Ace Trade says at Air Cages I use a combination of ice pack, twister spinner and that thing ET used to phone home.
I can only imagine what it must feel like to be Ace when we're talking about this, and because you realize it really, I don't want to say it messes with my head, but I want to
Harlequin
know
says S
how
was
he
too
picks
fast
that
for me,
price
but
so
Gold gladly was
badly.
patient, still got out too early lol, only 15 ticks, could have gotten 50 if I waited 2 more minutes. Feels bad. Bot says entry is the break to the downside of that top up close bar, 1 tick below the low of the 930 bar.
Oh, gotcha. It's kind of hard to see because it's on the line, and so you can't see how deep the wick is, but I gotcha. Okay, so I don't like what I'm seeing. I should see the bars continue to build more volume higher, 25, 26, and it's not. So I believe, based on what we're trying to accomplish, that the strategy should be to take early profit in that situation. Getting a good up close bar. In this case, if you take 3307.50
Bot says note the
would be a
930
key break.
hourly bar opened at 3,313.50.
Yeah. Notice that that bid is building up, but that people aren't, the market orders aren't hitting the 10-year yet. Like I saw that pulled all the way down now below 1,000, and they're not getting market orders on it. To feel me.
Live Action says I would had taken YM2 better structure looked weakest but didn't have that later up and was too busy managing 6C2. Air Cages says the way he tries to hide it makes me believe it's something so rudimentary that he's too embarrassed to tell us. Probably flips a coin at random intervals.
I don't know. The thing is I've found a lot of things that kind of correlate okay with it, but it's never the exact number that he gives. And the exact number that he gives always ends up being better. Just like as for instance with the number that John is talking about. Well, it's also 33,1250, but in this case,
Sebastian Marquez says this complex ride this fucking horse.
that was
Ace Trade
the
says at Air Cages, but it's a special coin, one I got from my father's father. Lucas says next target 130 even.
He's basically saying that was the close of a bar at a
Harlequin
key
says toss a
time
coin to
frame
your
change.
witcher. Oh, Valley of Plenty.
And the problem with that one was
Air Cages says okay, boomer.
They broke it, and then they came up like 3 or 4 points, and then they came back down and they really hit it. So it kind of depended on which one of those bursts you actually took. You can't see the inside of the bar, and it went across that area a couple of times. So you would have to have a large enough stop to have withheld the pushback, which would have been bigger than the stop that I usually set.
Air Cages lol. I know, right?
Okay, so it gave me that. I'm happy with it.
Says now Scottish drinking them Coronas.
If the ZB starts building a bunch of volume at 25, then I could consider getting long again.
Air Cages says MUH secret strategy, MUH edge. M says live Corona reporting for ya.
Interestingly enough, the Corona stuff, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of those coming out of the news squawks on Twitter.
Gary Rich says at live, have you ever sold options on 6E?
for the time being, the E-mini is still suggesting that the sell-off overextended and that they need that. I haven't yet seen. Well, take that back. This is really complicated. Do you see here? Here's the big outside
Live
bar,
action says no you.
followed by a hammer, followed by a shooting star that is unable to hold the low of the
Ace Trade
outside
says at air
candle.
cages at no point have I ever called it secret or an edge.
But we are above
Air
3304.50.
cages says Ace, is it Algobox? Come on, you can tell us.
No, he's on Sierra charts, right? But here's part, and I don't know why I think part of it is, when you have a good edge, people tend to be secretive about it, and I think that he is probably wise to not just straight up tell everybody what it is, at least not in public, not on stream where anybody and their dog can come back and read what he said. So I think that we should keep it that way.
Air cages says why would you not disclose it? Live
Because-
action says I don't trade 6E much, just that today was a gimme.
Because if you disclose it, other people could start to game it and destroy the edge. But there's another side to this.
Air cages I could, but why would I?
But there's
Harlequin says clearly Ace has two accounts and he goes long on one and short on the other. One of them has to be a winning trade and he only posts those, clearly. Air Cages says he just said it's not a secret or edge.
He just said it's not a secret. But here's the other side of it. Is like, look, he tells you the price and the entry. And we know what the targets of it are and the stop of it is. So he's giving you everything that you need to know to take it. So the question number one is do you have the discipline to just wait for him to give it to you and take it? Why would knowing how it works really give you more discipline? The reason I want to know why it works mainly is I want to backtest it to really see what the actual real probability of it is. One, and two, I want to do it on other instruments. Okay, so we do have news, right? At the top of the hour, right? It didn't trade down and back up again there at 33.12.50. Look at your Discord PM. So it did what? Well, so there was before the open, we were looking at it and it kind of kissed 33.12.50. And then on the open, there was quite a bit of an up and then it pushed. And when that's why I'm saying if you took it after the open and you took the break of 33.12, then I think you probably would have held the stop. I think that there was a little bit of messiness around there, and we could go back and watch the video to see if it was more than 4 ticks, but I think that one might have held. But I'm just saying the one of the problems that I've had with that particular entry signal is that area tends to be congested. You get a lot of random movement in order flow in those locations. They don't just sweep every time. Go look at this other screenshot. If I make it really big here. Make it really big so we can see the price over here, right? So he's saying there was at 33.12.50. Oh yeah, you see you have the line, so that's where I'm saying that and which one was it? So there was at 9:30 was the open. So I'm saying if you took it the very first time that it touched it, which is right here, then you were taking 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks of risk, right? Which isn't a lot, but the stop that we're looking for is 4. So depending on which one of these you took, you might have been stopped out or close to stopped out. And in this case, it's different because you got a really strong impulse, but like longer term, if you always trade that particular setup, you're going to find that they tend to be congested and that it's difficult to take it with just 4 ticks of risk. You probably, in reality, need your risk to be like the top of well, maybe even the top of this, potentially, right? To really, you can't take that until after the green block on the TFC. So you can't take it until here. What you're saying? Oh, well, because this is the open, right? Sure. Why is that white one changed around a lot? What's with that? Shouldn't do that. Well, anyways, I do think it probably would have worked this time, though. Now on the other hand, though, if I make this big, right? This is one of the patterns that we were looking at too. You get the big bar here, and then you get the hammer. Means it suggests, at least, let's not, because I don't know the probabilities on this etch. I've been trying to work on it. I'm trying to, here, let me turn the auto reader back on. Sorry. What, like, who can game it? I'm laughing. Sure, you can't take it until after. Go away. Anyways, I'm not going to say that it's like an entry or anything like that, because we still don't know the stats on it. We're kind of working, and it's a really complicated thing, and it's going to take a really long time for us to figure out. But when you get a shooting star like that, it suggests that 3301 was rejected. That doesn't mean that they can't come back down and trade it later, but for now, they're going for higher prices. And that was also why I took my trade off in the treasury. I got 2 points on it. And where was it from? From 29. I took it from 29 and I got 30.
Bot says a hammer after the 3 bar, the outside bar, is not a signal.
Why not? Well, it's against the time frame. Yes. I wouldn't necessarily take it long, but I think that there's a good probability that they're going to come back to here. And then if we decide that we're going to sell for the rest of the day, then they'll do that. Now, if they don't make it back to here, then we get another short signal, right? Boom, 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 boom. John is saying you don't want to trade against that. So you don't necessarily.
Bot says it might suggest the move has stalled, but it's not an entry signal.
No, yeah, it's not an entry signal. I would say, my contention is if you took the short here from 33.1250, depending on what your target and risk reward is and everything else like that, when you see that, that's a possible exit signal. The movement is stalled, and all of this up that you're seeing right now. Let's come back over to here. Oops. Come back over to here. Oh, you can't see it. Damn it. Without me. Here you can see on the E-mini, look at the cumulative delta here. Right? What's happening? All of the shorts are covering.
Gary Rich says, Seth, you have to practice in and out of trades. Pick a volatile instrument, practice in and out. It's called getting reps. Don't care what the results are, just get reps. Uzi Knesset says took a sweet 2 ticks at the high in ZB, lol. I am rich, bitches.
You know what, Rich? Not that that's not a bad idea or anything. I think that I've definitely had time periods of trading where I did things like that. But I feel that my problem is much more controlling the impulse. The problem that I have is not knowing when to sit on my hands. I've been doing really good at it this
Eric
week.
Cages says Seth, if you had to guess Ace's entry trigger, what would it be?
Well, my guess was so.
Bot says if you go down to a 15-second time frame, you can see the moves develop easier.
15-second time frame on the ES chart. Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, I have that. This one right here is 30 seconds, right?
Bot says it breaks down what you're seeing on that hammer bar. Gary Rich says Ace hacked my pooter and stealing my signals, lol.
Oh, well, yeah. So on this chart right here, my 30-second chart. So here again, there's 33, 12, 50. So as you can see, there was a little bit of, they moved back and forth there a little bit, but it looks like that
Harlequin says the problem with lower time frames is that you tend to overtrade.
Yeah.
Not saying that you shouldn't do it, but to be extra careful.
So I think in this case you would have gotten the trade and you might have had three ticks adverse excursion, right? Now this one down here, this is interesting because the move was not hard rejected, was it? It stalled out. And then
Live Action
people
says
started
Gary
taking
Rich,
profits.
nothing wrong with that. 4 months out could be beneficial for cheap if trying to establish a big position long term.
So I think, John, if your argument is that doesn't mean that that's the low of the day, I strongly agree with you. But if you're taking a scalp, that's enough of a warning that you probably want to take your profit. If you were swinging it, maybe you hold it, or maybe you're sitting here waiting for something else. Like right now, we had a pretty big up bar, and this current bar that we're in right now looks like it may end up being an inside bar. So maybe we'll get an inside bar breakout here, and we could take that short. Although we got to be careful with that one because that could be. We've seen those ones become flippy, and we've had a hard time with those ones, right? But yeah, with the signal that I've been using this week, because the conditions.
Gary Rich says at bots, finally someone gets what I've said before.
Okay.
Bot says I wasn't suggesting trading on a 15-second chart at Harlequin. I was only saying for analysis at Seth can see the price action I was talking about entering off of at 3,312.50.
Right. Because the question that we were having is whether you would have gotten stopped out or not. And it looks like probably not this time. It would have been close though.
Sebastian Marquez says how to execute to front running.
How to execute to front running? Oh my gosh, guys, I almost died. Why do I have so much of a trouble with drinking? That time it almost went up my nose. Okay. Man.
Eric Cages says Seth, if you had to guess Ace's entry trigger, what would it be?
Well, so when we first started looking at this thing that John and I are looking at, that is based on time frames and where bars open and close and things like that. We were finding some confluence with what Ace was giving us, but I'm pretty sure that that's not what Ace is using. So at this point, I have no clue what Ace is using. I'm out of ideas, to be honest. but it's probably not something. I mean,
Bot
it's
says he was poo-pooing the entry with no valid data to base his negative comments on.
well. The reason I'm poo-pooing the entry is because I don't want to take a trade in the first 5 minutes of the E-mini open. The chances of you getting stopped out on that one are really high.
Lol.
Okay, so 07 and 3/4.
Gary Rich says it took me over 9 months to really be able to trade off a 30 seconds chart. I have 15, 5, 1 minute high, low, midpoints drawn on my 30 seconds chart. And trade accordingly.
So this is actually trading a pretty wide range here at the moment. There was an inside bar, but they've broken it to the upside. If they come back down through, though, I want to take a short. I say if I'm going to trade this if we're going to take the trades on the candlesticks, the time frame one. I'm still not going to trade it in the
Eric
first
Cages
like
says
5
Ace
to
is
10.
the chosen one.
First 5 to 10 minutes of the mini open is not an area where it can hold my risk very often. That was a really aggressive move, so in that case it worked, but you can see even on such an aggressive move like that, it would have come very close to stopping you out. So what if it was not as strong of an impulse stay, you know? Okay, well, they're still moving up. It looks like that they're going to make a run for that open price at 33.14. 33.14 or so.
Bot says that's what algos are for.
Eh. It's just the range of those first bars is too wide for the amount of risk that I'm willing to take. So you have to wait. We could have possibly have said, sell it in the next bar, but then
Bot says to take the chicken shit out of your entries. Harlequin says swing trading S short is just painful lol, almost whole range retraced.
All right.
Eric Cages says Ace is the Keanu Reeves of trading. There is no spoon.
You guys really talking him up today. Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, though. It was like, I can relate this back to impeachment, but it really has to do with trading. Is like, what if I gave you something that an opportunity that would that I give you an opportunity that could potentially that if you follow through on it, that is, could make all of your dreams, your career goal dreams come true, right? What would you do? And I would hope the answer is that you would do everything you could to make sure that you took everything out of that opportunity, that you wouldn't screw it up, right? Is it going to go short again? I don't know. That was a little aggressive there. They are making it come short of the top of the bar. Anyways, you know that it's an opportunity that would make all your dreams come true. If you execute on it, then I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to screw that execution up, and I'm going to focus on that one thing and just take the most out of that one opportunity, right? But what if it's the opposite? What if you're given an opportunity and you know that it's not going to work? How do you treat it? You get lazy, you don't take it seriously because you don't think anything is going to come out of it. And you might even sabotage yourself. I think that those are the places where people will sabotage themselves because they don't want to face the reality of having spent a ton of effort on a lost cause. And so they might even do things to guarantee that it fails you. You know what I mean? Well, the unfortunate truth is that sometimes we're given opportunities that are great, and we treat them like they're poor opportunities, and we sabotage it anyways. And I was thinking about that with Hayes. I was like, it tends to work. I don't know what the exact stats are, but we know it's profitable. We know it's profitable from our own experience. And yet, do we always take it 100% seriously? I don't know. It seems to me like the human propensity is just to be lazy in general. You know what I mean? Would you capture it? Just let it slip. Yeah. I forget the name of that group that sings that song. But the truth is most of us do let it slip away. That's the weird thing. Getting a lot of skipped frames, and I like bumped the table there when that happened. I wonder if one of my connectors on the screen is a little off, and that's what causes that.
Air Cages says, wait, Seth. So what you're saying is if you had one shot, or one opportunity, to seize everything you ever wanted, in one moment, would you capture it, or just let it slip? Live Action says you take the opportunity and become best of breed, then some stupid Democrat changes the law.
And then some stupid Democrat changes the law. There you go.
KCSH says, when I was young I competed in Halo 2 LAN tournaments, and one tournament I realized I didn't even concentrate during the event, and the whole event was just a blur in my memory. KCSH says, experience stuck with me my whole life. Harlequin says at Air Cages his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready. Still not Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah, I saw this conspiracy theory sort of a thing that said that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both had looking glasses into the future, and they both saw themselves as president. And so Hillary Clinton said, "Oh, okay, well I'm president. I'm going to be president, so I don't have to do anything." And Donald Trump saw it and said, "Well, I better work hard and put everything into it," and that's why he won. It's like the same sort of a thing. Well, and I was putting it to like when I was thinking about this, the most it had to do with impeachment. It's like when you look at what's going on in the impeachment, there's this really strange contradictory statement that the Democrats were making yesterday that really stands out to me, because all of the headlines were like, Democrats present overwhelming evidence of crime. But then in the next headline, they're like, are Republicans going to block witnesses? So if you already have overwhelming evidence of a crime and it's an open and shut case, who cares if they get to call witnesses or not? You already have everything that you need, right? Right? But let's be honest. The truth here is, and I mean, it is pertinent to markets because it's, impeachment is pertinent to markets. The Democrats haven't made their case. They don't have enough to get to that threshold, and they know it. And what is going on is a Hail Mary. They're taking a big risk, and they're hoping that John Bolton is going to get on the stage and is going to say something that's going to change the political situation or something. Which, by the way, is extremely unlikely. Do you really think that John Bolton is going to throw away all of his foreign policy and throw an election to Bernie Sanders? You really think that John Bolton is going to be okay giving foreign policy control over to Bernie Sanders over a personal vendetta with Donald Trump? It's not going to happen, guys. And not only that, but he just doesn't have anything really all that interesting to say other than that there's a conversation. He'll say, they had a conversation and it went the way that the transcript says. And that's going to be it. And it's not going to change anything. In fact, I suspect that this whole thing with the who's going to testify, I think is a ruse by the Republicans. I think that the Republicans are acting like they don't want to call witnesses, so that they can say that, they gave in and the trial was fair. But they're going to let John Bolton speak. And I even might venture to guess that a really solid number of Republicans will cross the aisle to vote on John Bolton testifying.
KCSH says this impeachment is a show to draw your attention and split your focus on what's happening right now.
Wow, we always say, anytime that a news event is going on, there's always the claim that it's to draw your attention and things like that. But there is some truth to what you were saying, because the audience here is definitely not the other senators. When you look at the way that the Democrats are running this,
Gary Rich says President Trump gets stuff done. He is on that pure White House Adderall.
probably he is. So, did you see this thing the other day where the Chief Justice admonished both sides?
Air Cages says, oh, there goes Seth, he choked. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. No, he won't have it. It's back to the lab again, yo, this whole rhapsody, he better go capture this moment.
So they were calling the Republicans liars, and then the Republicans said that the Democrats were lying about the Republicans lying, and the Chief Justice said, hey, this is like an important body, and we should be respectful. And before that happened, the senator from Maine, I forget her name, she was passing a note to somebody. And so there's this conspiracy theory going around in the Democrat circles that the reason the Chief Justice admonished everybody was because of a note that she passed to him. And in that thread, they were all saying, oh, well, we really need to get all over Chief Justice Stevens. But like, here's the thing. If you really want to get Donald Trump impeached, and you really think that you have solid evidence that you're going to do that, are you going to make any kind of, and you have everything that you need. You're not going to take a risk. You're not going to do anything foolish. You're going to do everything by the book and cross every T and not every little I and make sure that you don't screw it up. Because all you've got to do is just be reasonably competent and you're going to win. Now, is that what you're seeing right now? No. Because really,
C says it's an impeachment based on mind reading.
Do you think that attacking Stevens in the media is going to make him more malleable towards your case in the impeachment trial? I think you have things to learn about how people work if that's what you believe, right? It's not going to help you at all. And yet, these are the things that liberals are saying in their mind. Why is that? Well, I say it's because they know they're going to lose. It's almost like self-sabotage at that point, because they don't want to have to admit.
Gary Rich says Seth speculating in politics. Lol.
They don't want to admit that they didn't meet the bar, so they have to self-defeat and create an excuse for why it didn't happen. That isn't that they were incompetent and didn't make the case. Makes sense? That's for, and I guess it's speculation, but I'm just going based off of particular behaviors of Democrats in the impeachment trial. Shows very clearly the audience isn't the senators. This is now theater for the public because they know that they can't win impeachment. So you're going to see like on the markets. The reason this matters is at some point they're going to have the vote on witnesses. And I'm going to bet you that there will be a very, very small reaction in the markets that will be negative. They will see the call for witnesses, and there's a good possibility that there will be a lot of witnesses. They'll see that as a net negative. But the truth is going to be that it doesn't matter. So that's why it matters. But maybe I'm being too clever. I don't know. Well, now we're back to the 33-12-50. At that point, do you take it long, John? I think we need to get at least above the outside bar. At that point.
KCSH says markets know this is theater and nothing more. That's why impeachment talks have been so bullish the past couple months.
Yeah, well, I mean, there have been. The thing is that when headlines come out, the Twitter robots trade it, and so you do see moves, but then we just continue on the trend, you know? But I think that the reason the markets have been so bullish is because they're expecting all of the growth coming from the China thing ending. And now, right now, they're trying to price in a global virus outbreak. Man.
Gary Rich says, Seth, you missed 8 PTS of a mini upside reversal hum.
Well, so...
Bot says, based on what I'm hearing here today, I'm guessing Seth votes for the independent candidate?
No. I always vote for the Republican, of course. But that doesn't mean that I can't just read the political situation and understand what the different sides' political strategies are and what they're thinking and the way that it's most likely to play out. This is where I see a problem all the time, is that most analysis in politics is based on what people want to happen instead of what is likely to happen. Democrats so badly want Donald Trump to be impeached that they've concocted this complicated scenario in their head where John Bolton gets up on the stage and changes the world.
Republican. Ace Trade says at Bots, you have no idea, lol. Gary Rich says, I want to vote for the best commie on the Dem side? Suggestions?
I think, we would never guess here. That must be sarcasm, right? I want to vote for the best commie on the Dem side? Well, you know what? The way that the Democrat race is going right now is going down through what was like the most likely scenario.
M says 7 cities in China now on lockdown.
7 cities? Man. But I was so skeptical that that's what it was going to come down to. I really don't think that Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders could win a general election against a dog catcher, let alone Donald Trump. And I just, man. Okay, well, we did get a down bar there. This one might be short. So,
Live Action says, after the Democrats fail in Senate and their narrative news a fix was in, which I believe was always the plan, think they will dare another impeachment on same issue?
Who knows? So hold on, we're going to talk about something else. Because Gary was saying you missed like 8 points of upside in the E-mini. You're right, but it was against the time frame continuation. So I don't have any actionable strategy or signal that would have given me a long there, other than that I definitely saw the potential for it to turn, didn't I? But what is the regimented entry signal that I can take? Because that is very much against the trend. Gut feeling. Yeah, Lucas says gut feeling. But I'm trying to avoid that. That's where I get myself in trouble. I did, however, see the close, and I took my treasury trade off, and that was an amazing decision.
Gary Rich says, I bet Ace got some of that reversal.
Yeah, if he was trading at the moment, maybe he would have gotten some of that reversal.
Bot says another sell 2, 1, 2 goes 3 short at 3,311.00.
Okay. Well, I can see. No, why is that?
Live Action says, Seth, did you catch Demetrius' link I left you yesterday?
No, I did not. Where did you leave that? Oh, no, was it another comment on the video? I'll have to look. No, I don't think I caught that. I saw your comment on my video yesterday, and I went and I said, is it this one or this one?
KCSH says, is there any order flow tip-offs that would have shown the bounce to be legit after the first 20 minutes today? Lucas says, I'm thinking about getting more involved in the S, maybe change instrument altogether, perhaps ditch treasuries, leave them on the background and focus more on S.
I mean, I don't have something that I can sit down and I can say, with this condition, in this condition, in this condition, and that's the trade, and this is where you take it, and all of that. Okay, but what I can tell you is that we had a push down, we had a rejection of price lower here, and then you saw the cumulative delta came back significantly, and that situation can suggest that the short-term traders went short and are going to be forced to take profits. And that is what ended up happening. So when you're saying 212, what do you mean by 212? It's 2 up bars and then
Bot
a
says
white
out at
bar?
B.
You say you would get out at break even? I think that there's still some potential for downside here, but I think that our stop at 1350, I think that's okay. So we can just kind of...
Bot says 2 followed by a 1 followed by a 2 that goes 3.
What does that... I don't understand what that means. Okay, I'm getting some increases in activity here now.
Bot says there's only 3 types of bars.
Okay, so what makes a bar a 2 or a 1?
Bot says
Inside
inside bar
1.
equals 1. Bot says outside bar equals 2.
Okay. That one wasn't an outside bar though, was it?
Bot says sorry typo. Bot says outside bar equals 3.
Outside bar equals 3. So do you think that that's last bar here? This red bar qualifies as an outside bar?
Bot says all other bars are 2s.
Okay. So 212. And then what? The bar after the 2 goes, or that last bar that is a 2 becomes a 3? I guess that makes sense. Doesn't look to be playing out at the moment, though. It looks like there's quite a bit of two-way here still.
Bot says so that rotation here off 3313.25 is a 2. 1, 2, goes 3.
2, 1, 2. I don't see the bar that was a 3.
Live action says this 6E is digging for worms.
Think the 60 is going to come up. I can see in the 30-year some possibility
Bot
that they're
says
going to
but they're
jump back up
resolving the
again.
3 down bar to the upside on the current bar.
Yeah, they are. This bar is the one, it's not coloring it pink.
Jerry is awake says I didn't think the 2 went to 3.
It looks like it's still a 2. Because it wasn't as high. The high of it was 33.13, and for it to be an outside bar, it would need to be oh well, maybe that's just the way that indicator draws it. I guess if it's equal, it should be a pink bar.
Bot says your chart is S, my chart is MES.
I wouldn't trade it off of the MES. Why would you use the MES chart? Why would you do the analysis off of the MES? That's all just retail traders that have absolutely no influence over it. Okay, that one didn't work. I say you do all of your analysis off of the ES. And then just take them.
Jerry is awake,
MS.
says gotcha.
Oh, Jigsaw Day Trader says, keeping your data fees low. Video. Well, we're going to have to go and check that out.
KCSH says, is there a reason why you prefer S to NQ? NQ has bigger moves typically, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that, so, oh man, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's not really, but like it comes up a lot is all. It's just because a instrument moves doesn't mean that you want to trade it. Yeah, it has bigger moves, but bigger moves also means that it's harder to control your risk. So no, I don't want to trade NQ because NQ is insane. It moves all over the place. It's fast, and you can lose big time on it.
Bot says on the S you had a 2-1-2 reversal followed by another 2-1-2 reversal completing now to the upside.
Okay. 2-1-2. You have a normal bar, an inside bar, and a normal
visit
bar.
Jigsaw old room that opened before the German cash?
Jigsaw old room. I don't know what you're talking about.
KCSH says can't just reduce size? Jerry is awake says bigger means bigger stops lol. Bot says in the last bar of the prior hour ending at 10:30 Eastern Time was an inside bar.
Well, you can reduce
Gary Rich
size,
says,
but
someone got to signals mixed up. Mystery Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Live Action says they had a trading room.
I don't know. They still have a room in Jigsaw. It's not bad. They don't separate things out by instrument though, so when I go in, there's just it's a bunch of noise, and I still don't like it. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that if we were going to go off of that one, you would if you said you take it off or break even, sure, that's fine. But we don't know what the probability of that trade is at all. We would really have to really focus on that one. The problem that I have here on that trade is that it still seems to me like that the areas that they're talking about the confluence on, because I think that there's some sound theory behind it, but it seems to me like the market knows, and the losers, when it gets to that point, are doing everything they can to negate the signal, and so you're trading in a congested area where it's hard to hold your risk. So back to ZSH's question. Yes, you can reduce size so you can limit how much you can
entry
make.
Should be long off the top of that inside bar at 3,312.75, but it's counter trend to the daily and the weekly.
Well, we're gone positive on the hour at least, and soon to be the daily. I don't know why my TFC is not showing the positive on the daily yet, but it should be because we are right at the open. So I can reduce size so that the amount that I lose is still the same. Sure. Unless I'm trading one contract, which is what I'm doing. But the concern is really more of, if I pick a particular price, what is the probability that that particular price holds? And how tight can you actually get it? So we know, based off of the trades that we've been taking with the trades that we've been taking with Ace, that one you can get within 4 ticks, right? You give yourself a 4-tick stop on that one, essentially 3-tick, really. Some of these other ones, I think that you need more than that. And if you're on NQ, it's definitely going to be way more than that. So how do you know if the price that she caught was good, because it could be within this huge range of stuff, and then that hits your stop. And so you see how it becomes more difficult to manage your risk in that situation, because there's a lot less certainty over any one individual price. Jerry's wake, great stop. Well, it completely reversed. This has been the pattern, though, lately, though, hasn't it been? Stops aren't set by ticks using this approach. Yes, so now you have to set it beyond a particular bar, right? But on average, how many ticks away are you going to set it? You know? That is a disadvantage to it. Is in reality, it seems like it's kind of turns more into a swing at that point. Because I don't think that with the amount that you're supposed to be able to get on it, or that you could potentially lose on it, that means that you're going to have to take more than 8 ticks off of the trades, you know? That's what I'm getting at. Move that over there. Oh, they get bumped up into a big order in the treasury. Yeah, they're set by that outer range of the mother bar that you base your trade on, or the low of the current bar if you're long and trading above the hourly open. Yeah, so then we have to do a statistical analysis of how far that tends to be. Right? And then you can go in and you can say, here's your average loss and here's your average winner. And what is your risk tolerance? And if it's higher than your risk tolerance, it could be profitable, and you still can't trade it because you don't have a large enough account to do it. But just based off of what we know about it right now, it looks like it's a swing trade. Did Seth have a small stroke explaining that? What did not make sense about that? Oh, we need to post our cryptocurrency notes.
Bot says, and there we are. Negative Nancy is back.
Yeah,
Harlequin says as equities are the most bullish market there is lol. If you like short, try other equities like the German one, crazy bitch, or the FESX, slow shit, or trade commodities. Would always be careful short.
So it's not negative to sit down and say that we need to understand the expectancy of a system before we trade it. It's not. And we have to see if the expectancy of it fits our trading. And I can already tell you, I at this moment, I'm not so sure that I'm comfortable risking more than 8 ticks on a trade in the ES. That's kind of my qualifier there. And if I'm going to risk 8, then I better be able to get 16. And I don't know if that gives me 16 or not. Like, what is the probability that I actually get that 16? It's because I keep getting this impression that, like, oh yeah, here's a trade and it works because I looked at it and it worked on this time. But like, that's not the same thing as going through over the past year and finding every time that the signal happened and seeing how it comes out and doing the statistics on it, which is really what you've got to do. The degree of homework that I feel that we need to do. Well, we can trade it for like 2 weeks. That's the other thing, is that then I want to forward test it live at least 2 weeks and get like 40 trades in it and see that it holds up to what I expect. You know, and sometimes you can't backtest it. So, and in this case, maybe we can, but it's hard. But can program that 212, right? I'm a little skeptical. I just have to say though, Well, and here's the other problem is like, it kind of is also like what it competes against, right? So we've had, comparing it to the trend following strategy in ZB that we've been testing. That one, you're taking 3 ticks risk and 3 ticks profit, and there's potential, I think, that we can take more off of that and that we can play it by ear. And so far, it has yet to give me a false signal. Has yet to give me a false signal. And when it's failing early, it gives me indications that it's coming short and lets me get out early, and I've done that several times. So when you compare those trades, what really allows me to control my risk better and gives me a better possible expectancy? You know what I mean? That one does. We're gonna have to keep trading it. And the other great thing is that when it's range bound, you'll just never get a signal. It seems so far. We'll have to see, because we haven't had a truly range bound day this week yet, have we? We've had some tight action in spots, but we haven't had a truly range bound day. I need to fix something over here. Gary Rich, hold on. You were telling us you can't find a way to make 4 ticks with a 6 tick stop in E-mini. No, I didn't say that. Wait. You've been doing 5 lot all in entry, taking 2. Yeah, but you haven't been taking a consistent enough of an entry for us to know on any one of those particular candle signals what the statistics are on it. Could I make 4 ticks with a 6 tick stop in the E-mini? Maybe. That's not something that I've investigated. I can tell you that trying for a 10 tick stop and a 20 tick stop, just winging it, did not work. Did not work. I would get 10 ticks favorable, and then it would stop and turn back around and come and hit my stop. I don't know. It's totally okay. I'm just going through in my head about like how that makes me feel when you call me a negative Nancy, because I'm sitting here like, no, I'm not going to waste my money on shit that I don't know has a positive expectancy. I'm just not. I don't have to, and I'm not going to. And this doesn't make me negative Nancy. We can like test it out, but until we can sit down and find a way to quantify these things, I just don't want to come in and tell people that it works when we don't know. Do you have statistics based on short and long separately? I mean, yes, is one of the most bullish markets, especially right now. Harlequin. Good question. We can figure that out. I have to do it off screen here first, okay? Question is, how far back do I have to go? I think I can probably go back as far as September, maybe. September to now. Yes. Okay. I don't think that it's going to be the way that you might expect. Okay. Sorry, we're going to cover a bit of the screen here up by this. Okay. So this one, in this particular time period that I've picked out, I basically came out break even. And I can say, we can see here on the long. Okay. I made 23 winners on longs and 53 losers on longs. So it doesn't look to me like there is a real, well, it looks like I do slightly better on my shorts. And my winners do appear to be a little bit better on the long. But overall, it's a wash. It doesn't look like there's any real pattern to it. I'll check back in a month with some stats for you to analyze. Well, yeah, we can get some stats. I mean, I can forward test them, and we can use the jigsaw things to take them in there. But the problem with that one is that I don't seem to see a regimented system enough for me to feel like I can confidently execute on it as well. That's another issue that I have. So I see a lot of, there's different setups and you're picking and choosing which ones you're taking that day, and you know, how do I figure all that out? I could go down and we could say that 212, that sounds pretty straightforward. We could test that one. Right? And I could do that, but I'm going to guess that one alone probably doesn't. In fact, I almost guarantee you that one alone probably isn't going to give you a huge edge. It's probably, if the system has edge, it's probably going to be the combination of all the things, right? Could be wrong, for sure. Maybe he'll come back and he'll have a better stats for me. But the concern is, again, like, can you control your risk? And plus, I only have so much bandwidth. It maybe is better that way, because I'm testing this other trade. We took one today. It worked. I have not had this thing fail on me yet. I've had them come where I didn't get as much as I wanted on it, but I have not had it just straight up go against me. I guess you're going to be searching for a long time. 10 ticks with a 20 tick stop on E-mini. Understand the current range and adjust accordingly. Everyday range is different. In fact, not fiction. Whoa, Gary. So if I take 10 ticks with a 20 tick stop on the E-mini, I would have to win like 80% of the time. There is no way. I have not found any signal, certainly not an ES, that I think would get me anywhere close to an 80% win rate. Hell no. Maybe if I was going for 2 ticks, I could get an 80% win rate. But if you're going to take a larger risk than your profit, then you're going to have a better than 50% probability. And I've never hit that in my own trading. I've always been around 45%. Well, I take that back. I've hit 60% when I was doing well. I take that back. We've hit 60% when we're doing well. But those have always been with profit larger than your risk. Usually I'm doing more like 1.5 to 2 or 1.5 to 1. Yeah, I mean, show me a signal. Give me a signal that I could program up that would that I could prove that I can get a win rate like that. But the split side of this is that right now we're testing a signal that gives us equal risk reward and appears to have a very high probability. That I'm very happy with right now, but it's only been a week, so it's going to require a lot more testing. Okay, so what was I doing? I lost track of what I was doing, and I'll let you guys get me distracted. Can you see? So I have to apologize. I guess I should apologize because I'm still on this steroid, and it makes me argumentative. You can totally tell, can't you? One interesting concept I hear mentioned a lot is enter with size, where initiative size came in on break and don't hold off side of. It may be even better at other side, where size was sandbagging building position, but you need patience. Okay, that sounds interesting. I think I need to read that a couple of times to make sure I understand what you're saying. So are you saying that if we were moving down and then all of a sudden size really came in and it broke down, that you want to take it from here and not hold it if it comes back over that line? That was the trade. That was the first trade that I tried testing out, but didn't quite go. Yeah, I think that one might be there. I'm back. I give you another signal, but I don't want to. No, it's okay. We're past time to trade. I'm wondering though, Ace, because I don't know if you're able to look back. I want to know: did you get any kind of a long signal between, let's say 3301 and 3310 in the E-mini? Because that was an area where I saw some things that indicated that the downside had been rejected. And if you had given me a long signal, I would have been very, I would have jumped at that one. Yeah, because it's kind of like if I see something that tends to have some probability or whatever, but like I know the expectancy of it is kind of a wash, even though like there's a good probability on it, maybe. But then I have something else that says, hey, we have a positive expectancy here with our correct risk parameters, then that's something that I really want to take, right? Keep searching. One day you may stumble on it. 50% laughable. How dare you? I don't know, Gary. You have to. So let me put this a different way. Okay. I have seen lots of traders that have come in and shown me strategies or stats that show them getting a high win rate, but are taking more risk than their average profit. Their average loser is larger than their average winner. I got a long signal at 3305, but it would have gotten stopped out. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, I've had a lot of people come to me and show me statistics where their average loser was larger than their average winner, but they were still making money because of a high win rate. And every single one of those people eventually disappeared and blew out. Every single one. What happens to a strategy like that is that when you come into the time period when your strategy doesn't work, and it might be rare for that to happen, and it might take a year or more for it to happen, but when it happens, you lose everything. And I've seen it over and over and over and over again. Now, I look at Gary Norton. I don't know what Gary Norton's strategy is, but I've spoken with people who were mentored by him, and they told me that this particular individual that I spoke with said that he had adapted it to the E-mini, and he was trading 2 ticks risk for 2 ticks profit and an 80% win rate. That can work. Equal risk reward and high win rate, that can work. But when you're taking like double what your average profit is, I'm telling you, destined to fail. Destined to fail. You have to maintain. You literally have to maintain a 75 to 80% win rate. That is very difficult. 3303 was right below the 38.2 fib of last week's range. Also, nice round numbers are typically where large orders can sit. Yeah. With the Problem with levels is like, which level do you follow? And, here's the thing is if I put every level that anybody has ever mentioned to me on stream and I put it all on the chart, I would guarantee you that if there was a reversal, that would happen at least one of those, and it would probably be a different one every time. Okay, live action says that T-note chart I gave you is super simple with no risk and infinity as reward. Which one are you talking about? A couple of weeks ago? I don't know, live. Live action, I think that you've sent me some really good stuff. Not gonna lie. I'm just on that one. I'm not so sure that those fit me. I think that, or at least at the moment, I'm looking for something a little bit more. Yeah, he's saying the one that you sent me a couple of weeks ago. I think that I'm just looking for something that is a little bit more specific. That's why I'm so focused on this one where I'm taking these, where I have to see the volume profile increasing bar over bar, and I have to see this going up, and it has to be above all of these things, and I need to have 2 bars of confirmation, and it needs to confirm on 2 time frames. Okay, could potentially take along here in the ZB if it wasn't so late in the day. That one's like really specific. I can just like totally follow it to the T, and it's been working out really well. Yeah, live action says don't complicate it. Well, and I probably do complicate it. I think that what I would think I would need. Let me. Maybe I should go. I think I should make a video about this, and then maybe we can take it from there. But maybe I don't need to make a video from this because I didn't come up with this. But Pete from Jigsaw, he has been promoting this recently, and I really like it. I think that a plan you need to have. Can you see here? You need to have what markets it works in, what markets it doesn't work in, what you're supposed to see once you enter the trade, what you're supposed to see and what you're not supposed to see, a specific entry, and then all of the expectancy numbers. So what's your probability, your average risk reward, etc. Right? That's kind of what I think I need for me to have an actionable plan. So we talk a lot about different setups. Don't shake a finger at me. We've talked about a lot of different setups where we can say, well, today this would have worked here and here and here, but I don't think that we have all of those particular points that we need for it to be like a full strategy that I can really trade, because I don't have all of the things, right? Like this 2-1-2 thing, when is that likely to fail? What markets do you not take that one in? I don't know. I have no clue. And we probably would need to do a lot of stats and trade it for a long time to find out. Live action says we all look at the same thing in different ways. Yeah. It's a funny thing with order flow is like, half of the people are wrong somehow. How is that possible? But it is. Okay, what did I never looked at Bitcoin? What's Bitcoin? It's moving lower. Okay. I've talked way too long again. The problem with risk reward is that determining an exit point is near impossible, especially if you're trading an asset at all times like ES or NQ. A take profit exit point, that is. Okay. And he's giving us a short, which I really like. And if it was not 9 o'clock, I would take. Yeah, so ZSH, that's true, but what you can do is you can game the probabilities of it, right? So you'll get this sort of a thing. Where's my? I'm going to draw a picture for you here. Let's just say that you have this winner. And you take the winner. And like, what is the maximum favorable excursion that you get on it ever? Okay, based on your certain parameters. Okay, and then we chart it out You know, all of the ones that are 1 we put out here, and all the ones that you got 2 we put here and here. And then we find out there's 4. And what you're going to see is something like this, right? Probability histogram, right? So we know, okay, when I get a move like that, most often, although it's never going to look like that, it's usually going to look like this. It's usually going to look like this, okay? So you're going to say, okay, we know that most probable is for us is to get 2. And then after 2, the probability of it going further decreases more and more as we move down. But what you will often find is there will be a step. Right? Which means that at this particular point, it is far more likely to stop here than it is to continue and go on. And so you can go in and you can say, okay, that's where I'm going to take it. It's right there. I'll take an 8-tick winner. And if it goes further, because it's possible, unless you have something that tells you that it's going to keep going, like the degree of the dues or something like that, then it doesn't matter if it went higher, because you have a probabilistic edge that tells you, based on the history, that, you know, they're likely to go so far. Yeah. Win rates fluctuate, some high, some low. It's called adjustments or adjusting with adaptation. Yeah. But, you know, the issue, the place where I think a lot of traders get mixed up is that what we'll do is we curve fit. You curve fit with yourself as you go and you say, okay, here's a signal that people have been giving me. Let me just go back and look at today's chart and see if it works. And then you see that if you do it with these particular parameters, then today it worked. And so they take that and they trade it. And then they, you know, they take it into a different time period in a different market. And then the probabilities of it change in that market. And because they only tested it on that one small data set, they don't see that, you know, oh, it performs absolutely terrible in this market. And really, to really have, you know, a really good back test, you have to have at least a year to have seen it go through all of the different phases of the market that a market goes through in a typical year. And so you could have something that appears to be profitable, but then when you look at the year-long time frame, it actually, in reality, is not. At least not without some adjustments. And this is extremely common. And I think something that screws a lot of beginning traders up is they think that they have something that works, but it's not able to account for seasons, essentially. So that's why I'm always cautious about. That's why that particular thing always gets me a little bit triggered, is because that's something that I feel like catches most people and that I want to point out to them. You know what I mean? Who would be calling me at this time? Don't know who that is. Okay. That trade that Ace gave us worked really well. Gary says to help him out, give him this. Gary, why don't you give me a signal? What is this? I'm getting a little frustrated because you're talking like you've got some like great nuggets of wisdom and you're not sharing them. I understand with Ace, but I want to see it. I want to see if you can give me an e-mini strategy where I can risk twice as much as I make and maintain a 90% win rate over a year time frame. Like, let's see it. Let's see it. I'll test it. I mean, I only have so much bandwidth, sure. But we're going to test anything that is potentially tradable for me within my risk parameters. It's within our parameters. I have really tight parameters. No kidding, for sure. There's a reason why it's easier to swing. There's a larger set of stuff that you can take because you can take more risk, and therefore larger profits are also available to you. Rich, you've made way more money in the market than I will ever do. You're the cash machine. Well, based on what Gary Rich has showed us, he definitely makes money in oil. The question, the reason why I'm giving Gary Rich shit here is that just because Gary Rich has become successful off of that doesn't mean that it would fit for me or for you or anybody else, you know? I guess that's another thing that I want to stress when we're talking about all of this is just because something works doesn't mean that it works for you or that it's really the trade that you should be taking, right? The reason why, because Ace is not the first person to come in our chat room and give us profitable information. No question. But Ace is the first person to come in and give us profitable information well within our risk parameters. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know crap about options. I bet it's like printing my... Well, the trade that he told us about today was pretty risky. I have to admit. I'll go. This is what I commented on a break of 3307, then sell into a bounce squeeze after the break. Well, Algo Lover, I came in being negative today because in part because of what you gave us yesterday. It's one of those unfortunate situations where the really good sell was like right at the open, and I don't like trading the open. So, anyways, I'm like way past my time. It's time for me to go. I will be off of prednisone tomorrow and next week, and I'll be back to my normal self, and maybe I won't be so argumentative. I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable.